Mammoth. Thanks. Um. Hmm. Dude, a fucking B-2 bomber does over. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So I guess that's it. I got to the bottom of the. Yep. I got to the bottom there. Just languidly making my way through the Twitch comment section here. All right. Let's get cracking. Let's get cracking. Go into a story. I'm going to talk about story and its implications, and we'll go from there. Let's get that story up and running and not look at this AMRAF story anymore. Oh man, that's that's pretty wild. All right. Okay. Okay. Texas GOP candidate not comfortable around transgender children. Shelley Luther, who had previously rebuked Texas Democrats and Republicans for calling state universities to deny admittance to Chinese students. This woman is a piece of work. So you can see this woman here. All right. Take a look. A Texas Republican candidate and former teacher said transgender children make her uncomfortable and questioned why other kids should be punished for making fun of them. When asked Saturday how she would enact conservative priorities in a divided state legislature, Shelley Luther, a candidate for Texas House of Representatives, smeared trans children and her discomfort around them with her support for school choice. Quote unquote school choice, yeah. I am not comfortable with the transgenders. Luther said, speaking at a candidate forum in Northeast Texas. The kids that they brought in my classroom, when they said that this kid is transgendering into a different sex, that I couldn't have kids laugh at them. Like other kids got in trouble for having transgender kids. Like other kids got in trouble for having transgender kids in my class. That's why I vote for school choice. Other kids got in trouble for having transgender kids in my class. I don't know what she means there. I don't know what she means by that. But yeah. And we'll watch this Twitter thing in a second. But yeah, we'll hear her own voice there in a second. But isn't she fun? They're transgendering into a different sex. So much wrong. Revolt Riot says, remember what they them took from us. Is she pro laughing at children? Yes, Wick. That's what she's pro laughing at. Look at the statement. She says the kids they brought in my classroom when they were transitioning that I couldn't have kids laugh at them. I'm not uncomfortable with transgender, and she's mad that she couldn't have them laugh at them. Like other kids got in trouble for having transgender kids in my class. I don't know how do kids get in trouble for having a transgender person in their class? Like what? How does I don't know. Fever dream, but sure. Her comments drew rebuke from the state's leading LGBTQ advocates, lamenting not being able to allow students to laugh at, bully, and harass transgender kids isn't leadership. It's cruelty, plain and simple. Ricardo Martinez, CEO of LGBTQ advocacy group Equality Texas, said in a statement, all children in Texas are guaranteed a public education under the Constitution, deserve privacy and the ability to learn in a safe environment. Luther told NBC News in an email that as a former teacher, she respected and supported all students, but that it became difficult to teach when the issue of gender identity was brought up in her classroom. When the center of focus becomes a student and not the actual lesson being taught, it is unfair to the other students. Interesting. Luther. Yeah, as a teacher, my goal was to make sure all students, all of them, are learning in a safe environment, she said. Bullying are acceptable and did not occur. So Layla says that she respects and supports all students, even though she clearly said she is uncomfortable by the transgenders. Okay. Luther said on her campaign website that if elected to president to represent House District 62, one of her priorities would be to abolish gender mutilation in children. She sounds like where is it? Oh yeah, respected and support all students, right there. A person who would say, my goal is to abolish gender mutilation in children, definitely sounds like she respected and supported the transgenders. The term gender mutilation is commonly used by opponents of transgender rights to describe gender-affirming surgery. Her comments on trans children did not mark first time the GOP candidate has been criticized for remarks on the campaign trail. Last month, Luther was rebuked by Texas Democrats and Republicans for calling on the state's universities to deny admittance to Chinese students. I think I remember this. Chinese students should be banned from attending all Texas universities, Luther said in a since deleted tweet. No more communists. She's lovely. She is lovely. Luther also nudged her way into the national spotlight in May 2020 for operating her Dallas salon a la mode. While state and local authority emergency orders closed non-essential businesses due to the pandemic, Dallas County Judge Eric Moye held Luther in criminal and civil contempt, sentencing her to 7 days behind bars. However, the Texas Supreme Court ruled last year that Moye's temporary restraining order was void, banning Luther from more jail time. Okay, oh well. But she gets away with that. That's fine. Yeah, doesn't this woman just sound like the best? The best? Let's listen to this quick segment. It's really short on Twitter.
I don't know any other counties that are more Bible Belt conservative than this district. And it's the Overton window. They have AOC in Congress on the left. And what we have done is become comfortable with what is okay in our society. I am not comfortable with the transgenders, the kids that they brought in my classroom, when they said that this kid is transgendering into a different sex, that I couldn't have kids laugh at them, like I couldn't have like other kids got in trouble for having transgender kids in my class. That's why I vote for school choice.
What was that?
And my opponent is completely against school choice. Thank you.
What was that pause there? She paused? Like when she was talking about having kids bully transgender kids? Maybe, I think at that moment, she might have realized this is a bad idea. And then she like pivoted to, oh yeah, the kids, the school children were getting in trouble somehow for having transgender kids as schoolmates. Right? That pause was really interesting. It was like a long pregnant pause. I want to hear it again.
I don't know any other counties that are more Bible Belt conservative. In my classroom, when they said that this kid is transgendering into a different sex, that I couldn't have kids laugh at them, like I couldn't have...
Pause.
Like other kids got in trouble for having transgender kids in my class. That's why I vote for school choice. And my opponent is completely against school choice. Thank you.
Everyone, do you see that too? There's this weird pause. Why did she pause there? Pauses and gulps. I just realized I'm a bigot. I guess I'll double down. That's pretty much it, Warrior Slayer. What's that pause? What is that? She used to say it with her chest. Exactly. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, she went too deep. Pause. You don't get that from the text. So I mean, I just read the text of the speech, but it's not clear. I mean, you don't get that at all when you're reading the text. You don't hear that. That pause, I feel like it says a lot. Now, I could be reading into it, but I feel like it says a lot. Pause, champ. Hey, the Sugar Zero. Hey, thanks for being around. Yeah, that's... oh... maybe this is a mistake. People might realize that I'm a horrible human being. Like, even among Republicans, I'm a terrible human being. Okay, all right. The fact I thought they took from her quotes, but that was the exact way she said it. Yeah, that was the exact way she said it. It was just, it was weird. Yeah, that was amazing. That was amazing. All right. So, yeah. So what I wanted to do, I feel like I just watched a Parks and Rec. Yeah, that feels like Kaylee Marie. Haley, you're like hitting it out of the park. Yes, exactly. That feels like a moment from Parks and Recreation, where they would just have those pregnant pauses. Yeah, that's definitely it. Good call. Okay. So so what I want to talk about tonight is whether the Republican Party is the party of bullies, right? Like, that's what I want to talk about. Is the Republican Party the party of bullies? Is that like, could you imagine a Democratic candidate coming up and saying some crazy shit? Maybe not to the transgenders, but to some other group, right? Like, to Christians or any shit like that, right? Like, could you imagine us attacking them and then still being a viable candidate? This woman's another Marjorie Taylor Greene. This woman, that's MTG right there. That's her. She's even fucking blonde. She's even blonde like her. She's even blonde and like old like her. Like, this is another one of them. That's her right there. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is in Congress. Be elected that batshit individual. It's a thing that happened. She's a U.S. government representative. And we have to take her seriously, rather than just as the clearly mentally disturbed individual, right? Someone who clearly needs help. But how is she any different? I would say, I would be surprised if Marjorie Taylor Greene was her hero, was her inspiration right there. Like, so, yeah, okay. So, what I look forward to having her serve side by side MTG. Exactly what, yeah, dumpster fire. There you go, dumpster fire. That's what it is. So that's what I want to talk about. She looks like a Fox News anchor. Yeah, she does. She actually does. She has the Fox News look. Yeah, you're right. Good call on that one. But, yeah, she actually does. Isn't there a dude with an eye patch now too? Yeah, that's I forgot his name. But yeah, there's a eye patch guy. Someone in the chat will let you know who his name is. I blanked on him. Dan Crenshaw, yeah. Been there for a little while. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Dan Crenshaw. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So yeah, let's have a discussion about is this endemic to that particular party? Blonde woman in her 50s, you mean? Yeah. Is she in her 50s? I don't know. I'm not sure. But any which way, if you want to have a discussion, jump on in. That's where I am, right there. That's me. If you want to jump in as well. We have one person. We have Wick here. Hey, hey, Wick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Am I coming through?
Yeah. Hey, Wick, how are you? Looking handsome.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I I can't help but like that pause, as you said, that just deep kind of pause was amazing. And I think I will give her this, that I've been there, not in any kind of bigoted way, but when I've been talking, when I've been saying shit, and I realize at a certain point when I'm talking that I've said too much, that oh no, I fucked up, and you just have to stop and just let it happen and just like close it out as quick as possible and move on to the next topic. I've been there. I understand that. I get that. But damn, live in real time, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Pretty much. That was amazing. That was an amazing moment. But yeah, so what's your thoughts, Wick? Thanks for joining us. What are your thoughts
Okay,
on
so obviously, yes, the Republican Party has tons of bullies in it. They have made it a part of their platform in a very real way, and especially in these local elections, these local districts. But to say that that is the whole of their platform, I don't know. I don't know if that I'd go that far. And we gotta admit that bullying isn't something that we as Democrats and people on the left are free from as well. I mean, just look at all the drama that happens within our spaces where we just bully the shit out of each other. So I just, while yes, this is obviously super egregious case of bullying, and it's inexcusable, and it's laughable almost in how extreme it is. Using it as an example is a little bit unfair, I feel.
Okay, I'm gonna push back on this, but before then, I forgot to say previously that this is a open walk-on panel. I forgot to give my little opening. This open walk-on panel, where honest members like you, yes, you may participate. Join Discord server and go into the rowboat waiting room to be let in. This link for your convenience. We'd love to have you. So if you guys want to join in on this discussion with me and Wick, this is an open panel. Come on in. Right now's the time. But yeah. Oh, we have one person. Yeah, let's bring them in. Okay. Oh, yeah. But they're deafened, so hopefully you're soon. Yeah. So, Wick, you said that we can't use this as an example.
Well, no, obviously you can. It's just a little unfair too.
It's unfair too, but I don't think it is. I don't think this is. I don't think this is out of the ordinary, right? For the Republican Party, certainly not. Like, this is like you're saying it's not part of their platform. It absolutely is. I don't think this is. Sorry, you gotta Amber, mute yourself. Out of the, okay, I gotta mute you. We can hear the stream in the background, so you can mute the stream or something, or mute the tab any which way. Yeah, but we can hear an echo of the voice. So I'll unmute you now. Amber, hello, hi.
Hi, how you doing? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here. Do you have a camera?
I do have a camera. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, great. So I don't think this is completely out of the ordinary at all. This is when you have a platform, or at the very least, it's acceptable for candidates and politicians to denigrate LGBT kids. I mean, like they've been passing laws saying that these kids can't be part of sports, right? The sport that matches their gender identity. They've made this. They've campaigned specifically on this, right? Like, I have nothing else to offer you, but I got this. I got hate for trans kids. I got hate for some other group. It's a party of hate. So I don't think this is unfair to blow up this specific example. This is particularly egregious because she's upfront with it. This Republican candidate, but I don't think it's.
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, the only reason why she's as out and open about it, I'm proud of it is because of Trump. That's like quite honestly the only reason why. That basically was a shift in the dynamic of how it played. Let's be honest, Republicans were always kind of jerks. In a way, they were more or less kind of we've all seen what's it called? We all know Tim Allen, the sitcoms. Those specific type of working class hero kind of build them up from your bootstraps kind of mentality. We all know what a conservative sitcom looks like. We all know what Frasier, leftist sitcom looks like. We all have these mentalities that are built into yeah. Obviously, the idea that the Republicans are built on the idea of the macho man, more or less. It's always been the idea of the centrally strong individual. And Trump took that to the extreme. And the fact that he was so out and brazen and proud of who he was, in fact of, yeah, fuck China, fuck this, fuck that. Now everyone's being able to take that and they can throw it, oh, he was mean about China, but he was doing it for a purpose because he was strong for America. Oh, I don't like this trans person because that's making America weak. Therefore, I need to vent my anger because that's what I need to do. So that's honestly this is an inevitability because, yeah, they were built around the idea of the strong will. What's it called?
I get that.
If it doesn't make you weak, if it doesn't kill you, it only makes you stronger.
I get that. I don't disagree with anything either of you said. Really, like I think it's extraordinarily fair to point out to people that the platform that the Republicans and conservatives has taken, especially in many of these state and localities, is going to cause harm to transgender children. It's specifically singling them out, and yes, in effect, it is bullying them. But there is a difference between saying that and then saying things like Republicans are bullies. Do we get that distinction?
We do, and I understand, and I totally understand what you're trying to say. Yeah. Blanket statement: a Republican is a bully. When I say a Republican is a bully, I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm talking about Chuck. I'm talking about the people who are generally. I understand
that, but when you say that,
when you're going to a broader public kind of speech, and we want to not then basically damn an entire culture of everyone because, hey, I'm Republican, but I'm not a bully because I believe in being a Republican and being red. Well, quite frankly, I think you should get out of the Republican Party. I think you should get out of the Democratic Party because both of those parties are not serving your interest. They have never been designed to serve your interest from the word go. Start your own party. Start your own grassroots individual. Get the community involved in your politics. Go to your local school board, and if you genuinely don't want the transgender kid in your school board, you should probably then, because these people, we know these people are going off. We know these people aren't from the districts that they're going to. When you see someone going up on the stage and talking and spouting off, they don't live in that district. They've been bussed in from somewhere else. So yes, the Republican Party is a party of bullies. If you consider yourself a Republican, you're not a part of that party unless you are a bully. Okay, I'm sorry.
So how most people view politics outside of these spaces, outside of Twitter, outside of online spaces, as I've seen growing up and interacting with people in meat space, as it were, is people tend to treat politics as more of a buffet than we do online. Online, we have a big problem with package deal politics. If you believe one thing, you have to believe every single thing that any political label that you identify with. I'm a Marxist, so I have to believe every single thing that Marxism stands for. Whereas most people in real life treat things as more of a buffet. They're like, oh, this here over on the socialism table, this is a couple treats here. Oh, the liberal table, let's take a few things from there. Oh, the little libertarian table doesn't have a lot, but I'll try this chicken wing or something. We treat it as a buffet. And that's probably a more healthy way to do it. So when you say things, people who primarily take from the Republican table or the conservative table here, they look at this and they say, I didn't pick that up. I don't have a problem with transgender children or any of things like that. But I cannot, if I voice that I still want smaller government, that I still want individuality, that I still value these things, the traditional family, religion is an important part of my life, things that aren't necessarily bigoted or harmful, though we could argue maybe religion is a little, but they don't see it that way. it makes it hard to talk to the other side when you've already just said you're all bullies. The Republican Party's all bullies. And they're like, wait, I'm not.
Right. Oh, no. I get what you're saying. And honestly, I wouldn't start off the conversation going flat out with that. I would guide them into, and I would try to eventually lead them to that point of, like you said, oh, wait, I didn't mean to pick that up when I did pick it up, and I didn't realize I was picking it up. No, I get your point 100%. And we absolutely need to weed our way through the discourse and the disinformation and figure out. In fact, I just told my dad still believes that cop that passed out from the fentanyl attack. My dad still believed that was a genuine thing, and I had to tell him, no, he had a panic attack. If fentanyl was as lethal as it was, the drug wouldn't be used anyway. Its use would be different. My point being, though, yes, I definitely understand the idea of making it parsing through the discourse, the disinformation. And yeah, people need to recognize that when they do think of a Marjorie Taylor Greene, when they take the Republican Party, they're taking Marjorie Taylor Greene with it. They're taking everything that's just, it's kind of how it is. They got to see it that way. We need to eventually people realizing that we're all part of the chain. The whole points of the mass, but it is though. And it really genuinely is part of mass governance. We are mass representational governments. We're not a cloister of confederacies where we're all loosely based on one single no, we're all one massive thing. And when you are not genuinely actively participating, you are being a bully. And it's kind of complacency I wouldn't make it like punch him in the face with it, but it is kind of a complacency by absence, kind of. I would frame it, and I would frame the discussion in that way.
That's just a very hard sell.
I know it is, and you got to be comfortable with it. But it's just the reality of we have to do some drastic, or else things are really going to get a lot worse.
Like as someone who's more on the liberal leftist side of things, I would be very uncomfortable standing next to some of the people in our party as well, and like in the Democratic Party, I'd be like, well, that doesn't like the only people I feel responsible for are the people I directly vote for, President Biden, my local officials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if someone else that has a D next to their name or who considers themselves a leftist does something batshit crazy, I'm like, I don't feel complicit in that, and I don't think I am complicit in that. I don't think that I am, in any meaningful sense, complicit in what crazy leftists or crazy, if I went to the right and voted on the right, crazy right-wing people would do, because it's a very
crazy centrist, crazy everywhere.
It's a very winding way to kind of connect those dots, to be like, oh, if you are identify with this group, you are responsible for everything this group does. And I get what you're saying, and I understand the logic behind it, and it makes sense. But it's not how most people think. I don't think it's helpful to view the world that way. And while it's fun to make fun of these extreme positions, like the lady in the article, and with the pause, and we can laugh at that, and we can recognize it's crazy, and it's a little scary because it's being taken seriously. She's a candidate, thankfully. She hasn't been voted in. Hopefully they don't. But at the same time, we have to realize that on the other side, that's who they're putting front and center, is our crazies. And so when they're looking at us, they're not seeing me, they're not seeing you, they're not seeing Dr. K or Prime. They're seeing the crazies that are being talked about on their radio shows.
Our crazies are Sleepy Joe and Batacat Care. That's our crazies. So
Batacat? What? Sorry.
Batacat Care. Yeah, he fumbled the word and he said Batacat Care, and that was something. They went crazy about that for a while.
Oh,
no. Tim Pool, I think, said something like it. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking nonsense.
Yeah, it's just because like our crazy people are the fact that our party is elderly. We don't. Well, I think the median age is 53, and the fact that the Republicans have got a ton of young blood behind it is another big reason why we're seeing the fractionalization, and why our party is, if we're going to continue the Democratic Party, is going to fail ineffably to the Republicans, just because the Republicans have the power behind it.
There is a huge problem in the Democratic Party, and the Democratic and the liberal side of things, is like when I look at these videos on leftist videos and things, it's basically every title of every leftist video ever is everything you ever liked as a kid is bad and wrong, and you should feel bad for liking it. Everything you considered fun at one point is terrible and
It's actually
harmful, and
really
you should never do it.
interesting.
We have become such a puritanical kind of anti-fun group that no one's gonna fucking want to be a part of us.
Are you
We
kidding
used to be
me?
sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
That's
We used to
Wow.
be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But now
Yeah,
we're
okay.
woke scolds.
Well, guess what?
yeah,
During the
yeah.
Reagan era that you're talking about, we lost like fucking every national election. So
I'm not talking the Reagan. I'm talking the
Anyways.
Clinton era.
And-
The Clinton era.
Oh, yeah.
He's
We
getting-
lost Glass-Steagall.
Oh man, wouldn't it be great to return to the Clinton era? Everyone, isn't everyone just fucking nostalgic for that shit?
Yeah.
Yes, we actually had the money to make universal health care work. So yes, I would like to go back to the Clinton era.
Oh, we have that now.
But we didn't.
I know, but we actually had a profit, so we could have sold it a lot easier. Is my point.
But we didn't though during that era.
In any case, well, I'm sorry, I need to yell at Wick for a
I
little
know
bit.
it wasn't until
Yell at
way
Wick.
later, but we
Wick.
should have.
Wick.
That's when we should
I'll
have
be
done
a
it.
white
I'm
whipping
being
boy.
an ass.
Wick, yeah,
Whipping
I don't
boy.
understand. Like you're saying, like this is, I guess this is like this, like cultural reductionism, right? Like this is like, hey, you told people that you couldn't, you couldn't be mean to like different minor, like wait, like someone brought this example up previously, right? 16 Candles, right? There's that old movie, right? 16 Candles in the 80s, right? And it has like an offensive Asian stereotype, right? Like 16 Candles is a huge movie, right? And now it's like marred by this. And yeah, like it's okay that we reassess the things in our past. It doesn't mean that you took it to the next level, saying that it means that you are bad for liking it. Now you can still like the movie, but it's marred by like this discussing this, right? Like this is a this is just like I think it's healthy to have a culture reevaluation, right? Or unless we get static,
Yes.
right? Just because
Yes,
it happened in the past, right, means that like, well, then it must be good, right? Like someone has some sort of attachment towards it, so that we can't reevaluate. No, we should always be reevaluating the past. This is why we could take down, for instance, Confederate statues. Some people had.
I don't disagree with
absolutely,
that.
yeah.
I don't
Okay.
disagree. I don't disagree with the fact that we can look at our past and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. But in a lot of cases, especially in online spaces, you are being, and this is a very real thing that is happening, that people are being told not only are what you liked is wrong or that movie you liked, but you should feel bad for doing that. You should feel bad for enjoying that. When instead
There's
of
a
being
plethora
just
of Twitter.
aware,
There's like a whole conglomerate on Twitter doing that. Yeah.
yeah, are we pretending? Are we going to sit here and pretend that that does not happen?
Are these like hardline, partisans for the Democratic Party? Or are they
I
just,
mean,
like, people?
wait, Wick, are you saying that like we shouldn't acknowledge that some of those things that we used to like when we were younger?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Like, because I like when you look at a movie like Blazing Saddles and like the prom movie, like where they were like literally making like racist jokes and hinting out, hey, this is a black guy as a cowboy. Look how absurd this is. Like you can still laugh at it, but it's still something that was like offensive. Or like
it was. It was designed. It was also designed as satire to It was written in such a way to be deliberately as offensive as it was, to point out how offensive and egregious this whole process of racism is. So yes, those movies should actually be continued to watch to this day, in my opinion.
Mel Brooks is a pretty good director.
He's a smart individual.
There was something really interesting brought up earlier, though. I really like this idea that the Democratic Party doesn't appeal to young people. It's an older ended party, and my gentleman says it in his own words, right? And one of the reasons being is your younger cohort tends to have these more progressive ideals, right? These greater needs for things like help in labor, with raising wages, things like help with college debt and things like that. And the Democratic Party has shown that they do not care about those issues repeatedly, and have, quite been very much willing to say to these people, we get that these are important to you, and we get that you voted for us because these are important to you, but we will not be helping you with these issues. Sorry. And if that is the line that a party takes to its younger cohort, then I do not blame the younger cohort for not wanting to associate with them. They may even vote Democrat, but they will associate either independently or not at all, oftentimes, if that is the way you treat that cohort. And if you don't treat that cohort well, these people are going to look for alternatives. And if you are a Democrat-aligned person, I'm guessing you don't want them to look for alternatives.
Well, no, I wouldn't want them looking for an alternatives. If the alternative is, what's it called? Okay. I want them looking for an alternative in the sense that I want the Democrats to definitely stand and take a stance on the socialism that they say they would. Because back in the day, we had a very, very similar crash, I don't know, back in the 1920s, something very, very similar financial issue.
Yes.
Yeah, very similar issue, similar to what we had today. Largely, ours is in response to a catastrophic pandemic. Obviously, in 1992, what got us out of the Great Depression is we actually passed the New Deal. I'm sorry?
Oh, okay, you misspoke.
Yeah, I misspoke. I'm sorry. What got us out of the 1920s? I'm sorry. I was trying to say I said 19. Yeah, I'm dyslexic.
A long time ago, galaxy far, far away.
Long time ago. Yeah. Anyway, back in the 1920s, we got out of the Great Depression by passing some very, very strong and very, very progressive ideas and very socialist ideas. We actually put a tax cap. We built
by the left.
Exactly. We don't have a socialist party. The 2020, you could actually back in those times but you couldn't identify. You cannot identify yourself as a socialist or be pulled as a socialist or have a genuine socialist party in the United States. At a certain point, we had a progressive. Do we have a progressive party nowadays?
Yeah, Democratic.
No, we don't. We have
America.
Democratic Social. Okay, who are the districts and where are they in? What have they done? Have they given us a New Deal? They tried to push through the Green New Deal, which was essentially the New Deal, but just with some extra modern day bullshit on it, and they couldn't get it through Congress.
We're not at the end of history.
We're not at capacity.
Right?
We're not at capacity. We're in an early growing period.
It doesn't bear fruit until it's reached maturity.
Right, but right now we're facing an exceptionally hard and exceptionally vigilant and bullying right. And I get yeah, I'm coming on a bit strong, but you got to realize that
violent.
It's essentially
right.
Yeah, and it's a religious cult that's taking it over. They're essentially something extra steps and taking it over through a religious with the Bible thumping. That's rather the Bible. You're calling them the Bible Republicans.
Yeah, that's one cohort of it. It's a multi. There's many factors.
They tend to be the most vigilant and the most extreme. So we need to tell them.
I would say the new like faction within the right that loves to hurt people is people who identify as Western chauvinist types. They're just sort of gung-ho about Western values, and they tend not to affiliate strongly with anything religion beyond aesthetics oftentimes.
Okay, am I to assume that Western values, they're like guns, trucks, the red, white, and blue American flag, that kind of Western values, or
these are your Oath Keepers, your
I gotcha, yeah, I gotcha. Okay, those are the ones that you see on the news, and they make a big flashy head stories. They're not the ones at the TA meetings. They're not the ones pushing public opinion. They're not the one. They're the ones that are catching the headlines. They're not the ones sitting there going to the PTA meetings and oh my God, how many parents genuinely want this? You've seen them at PTA meetings?
Yes. Yeah.
So the problem with that,
I'm sorry. The problem with that though is go for it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the problem with that is when people say, "Oh, I've seen Proud Boys at PTA meetings," or "I've seen the fascists, the neo-fascists at these things." I no longer believe them because I do not believe they can distinguish a normal, just average run-of-the-mill Christian conservative from these things. I think they see them and they, in a very real sense, think, "Oh my God, it's a Proud Boy." I've never. When it's just some angry mom, and they're not
Exactly.
the same.
Well, I mean,
it's a celebrity
and if I look at it from if I look at it from Wick's perspective too, like some of the Proud Boys are parents too, and they care about their kids. They can show up at a PTA meeting. It's not a bad thing.
To show up at a PTA meeting and demand that you don't have transgender kids in their schools and not play sports, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, he's not saying that's not a bad thing.
I know.
He's simply saying, yeah, don't be a pedant. Come on. You're better than that.
I am. I'm trying to be. I am trying to be.
Okay. Well, then...
So, yeah, but I think that we do these things. I think Amber, is that how you say your name? Amber, is that how you
Amber, yes. Amber RCK, and what's it called? She, they, hers, please.
Amber RCK. I'll try to remember. If I forget, just please forgive me.
No, that's fine.
So I get what you're saying, and I think you make a very good point. Like when you ask, like in a very real sense, like we may have a Democratic Socialist Party of America, but when it comes to driving discussion and things, they don't hold much of the levers of power or institutional power that the Democratic Party has. That's part of the problem, that we have a two-party system that both have their mitts on huge levers of institutional power that they can use to prop up their reign. And so in a very real sense, while we can...
So you're saying they have money, is what you're saying. They're going to cooperate with the money.
Not just money, but they have these institutional places of power that they are. And we talked on a PrimeCayes panel just a couple days ago about bipartisan gerrymandering.
Will have more resources, yes.
Yes, and all these things. And this...
But as far as I know, in America, you can still write in your vote. So
sure,
as long as you can, as long as no one does, but I'm saying if enough people do, those institutional powers have to go to that person we voted in.
But I'll tell you a story. The first time I ever voted was in Florida, 2000 election. And I was just in college at the time, and a lot of my professors there, and a lot of the people there told me that they had written in Ralph Nader, the Green Party candidate, and that they would never do that again, because that had taught them a lesson that is not only was just throwing away their vote, but it was ceding their vote to allow
2000?
people. Yeah, 2000. That
was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but this carries on. These people are dead. These people are still alive. It's a traumatic experience that they carry forward. And this happens a lot. Like,
I'm just curious. Are you talking about the institutions or the people?
Both. I mean, institutions are made up of people as well. So
I mean, if it was 20 years ago, I mean, what's more likely to change?
And I think more likely to the point. I get what you're doing is, what's likely to change is the idea that you're ceding your vote. You're basically, by not voting for someone, you're basically giving more power to the opposition because you're dividing, you're splitting the party. We got another bull moose in here.
Split ticket shit.
Exactly. Honestly, I say go for it. All more reason for fractionalization, and we need to start fractionalizing, especially along the Republican Party, because they will start to fracture amongst their own demagogue. So if we push that, they're going to fracture out one way. If we make them chart to take our own really hard socialist push, we can actually have 3-4 parties in America.
Well, the problem with, again,
the matter is the way our voting institutions work right now. You're essentially doomed to eventually have the sand sifted out to the back point where it's back to a two-party system. You can see this with any presidential system that practices first past the poll.
Okay, but do we have the mechanisms to then not ensure that happens and maybe work so we can, again, promote and actively incentivize ranked choice voting? Now that we have 4 parties, can we start implementing more progressive ideas to start keeping this bigger idea going in place? We have the tools in front of us, we just don't use them, or we use them to hurt each other. So,
because I advocate both for ranked choice, and then I also like the Japanese system where a municipality will have 2 elector seats, and one goes to a person you're voting for, and then one goes to a party, and then
I want to
So we got new people here.
Wrangler multi.
So this Sly, was it Sly? Hi.
You can call me Sly. That's fine.
Do you have a camera?
Yeah. I unfortunately just set up my computer an hour ago, and I don't have a camera set today.
Okay. Well, hopefully. Yeah. Anyway, did you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah. Just in addition, in general, for the idea that these people can speak in such a way about like transgender kids as far as like being laughed at and being bullied, it's not necessarily, that's something that, at least in my opinion, is not a thing that policy can fix. I think that's like something that is probably being taught at home, and so changes like that, and you're talking about like fracturing off within the Republican Party, that in itself doesn't fix anything, because in the end, you probably know a lot of friends who are Republicans who think all types of thoughts, who are going to all sorts of ways, and as much as you'd like to enact change on your part and kind of grow your own faction, in the end, we are a two-party system when it comes down to the national vote. And so those policies that we stand for, eventually, there's this idea at the end that we all come together in a national election and we choose. So the likelihood is very, very low. So I think, like, on a more social level, where is this person going wrong? Like, is it more that, like, I think, like, there needs to be possibly a different approach as opposed to just policy, in my opinion. I think, because I think that type of thinking and that type of, I don't want to call it stupidity, but that type of like kind of possibly backward thought process, and not looking really forward to just the change that's happening in humans in general, is very, it can be very jarring for some people to accept that change, but possibly kind of, finding other ways other than policy, in my opinion. But maybe I'm alone in that.
Can I push back a bit? Just
Yeah.
slightly, just very slightly,
By all
because
means.
I agree with a lot of what you said. But I think policy is exactly the way to kind of not like, I'm not so much concerned that there are bigots out there, that there are racists out there. That's always going to exist. There's nothing you can do to change that. That's, as you said, it's a thing that you can reduce, but you never eliminate entirely. But what we can do is we can change systems so that, regardless of someone's racial bias or implicit or explicit bias, that the system operates in such a way that it minimizes the harm they can cause to groups that are under threat. You know what I mean? That's why systems are very important, and mechanisms within systems are very important. It's why, no matter how racist or not racist someone is, the system can target and punish minorities. And so if we use policy to shape systems, and if you're asking me how to do that, this is a question that people are arguing over. I don't have the exact answers for you right here. I can't solve racism here on this panel, unfortunately. Sorry. But I do know that the goal we should be striving for, and where we should be focusing, is not on, look at these individual racists and individual bigots. We need to be looking, this is how the system impacts in a desultory manner groups that we should protect, minority groups and things like that.
Yeah, and I wasn't.
May I?
Yeah.
What do you do when these terrible when it is these awful people's, quote unquote, have institutionalized their beliefs and embedded them within the systems to the point where you are not going to be able to root it out?
I don't think that they're
Revolution.
I don't think that we're at that point where we're incapable of rooting it out by policy. I just don't. I think that we haven't tried everything we can yet. I think that we have a chance to do this. I do think that the direction we're going with public perception is not good. I worry about the midterms coming up. I think that the public perception is that Biden is failing. I think the public perception is that the Democrats and the leftists are overstepping. I don't think that's true. I don't think that the facts back that up.
No, he's
But it
not.
doesn't matter
They're
what the
not.
facts
Okay.
are. It matters
So,
how
Wick,
people feel.
here's
But
here's
but
my
you were
rebuttal to
pointing.
that is what do you do? For instance, I live in sunny California, the quintessentially Democratic state, right? They have a supermajority here in every way imaginable, and yet we still cannot get police reform passed. Their budget still balloons year after year, and bad officers are not held accountable. You know, we can't even pass universal health care in this state, despite it being proposed 3 separate times.
Can I ask you a question though? Do you think that the police are just as bad today as they were 50 years ago?
This is a loaded question, my friend.
I know.
Okay, then I'm not going to ordain it with an answer.
Okay, well, the obvious answer is of course not. Of course they are better. This is backed up by statistics. This is backed up by data that we have that back in the 70s, it was in every measurable way we have nationally worse. But now it is better. And yes, it's been too slow, and yes, it's not enough.
Well, what came with that was exposure. Honestly, publicly
That's-
shaming
yeah.
the bad officers is what changed that. It had nothing to do with policy. It was the fact that they could publicly be shamed and smeared in the yes, in the tabloids. You had the Black Panthers. You had people publicly going
You
out
don't
there
think that-
and being vigilant to
Okay.
protect their individuals.
But you
That's
don't
why
think
that
that the
changed.
policies,
That had
like-
nothing to do with. I get you. That had nothing to do with the institution. That had to do with grassroots movements and
policies
people
only come out
genuinely
when it-
holding. Exactly, they come in response to what the public has
Exactly.
demanded.
Which is
Real
what I was trying to
pressure.
point out regarding policy. I understand that you're talking about institutions, but these institutions have to be built. You can the example of California is very, very clear. You bringing up the fact that it's better, like when you asked the cop question, so you made it seem like it's like maybe possibly a gotcha, but it's better because the people are better. We've grown closer to each other than we were before. We understand each other a little bit better than we did before. So that's why it reflects itself
untrue.
in.
That's not untrue, but it ignores the fact that the policies we have in place today are fundamentally different than the policies we had back then.
You're putting
and
the
yes,
chicken
hey,
before the
look,
egg,
Right.
Look,
though.
it
Yeah,
takes
can
time.
I
don't
push
understand why
back
you guys,
on that a little
why
bit?
you're- I understand, but let me finish my point if I could, and then yes, you may. But yes, we have to change public perception in order to pass policy that will make institutional changes that are possible. I understand that, but this is largely with some stops and starts, and it's very slowly, and it's not fast enough. I'll cop to all of that. This has happened when we take a longer view of history. I'll give you a very good example. Incarceration rates for minorities, especially for the Black community, are still today greater than in white communities for the same crime. However, from 2000 to about 2019, that rate, that discrepancy shrunk by 50%. That's huge. That's great progress. It's still not there. We still got
It
places
also
to
came
go.
with the
That
swing
came
in
from
massive
changes
public
of policy.
perception.
That came from the
There's-
elimination of mandatory
There was a
minimums.
swing in public
Here's the
perception
thing.
that preceded it, though. And
I mean,
can I
the
just
arc of
push
his-
back? No. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm.
Yeah.
You guys get my
Yeah.
point. So
The arc of
We got-
history, you're sort of portraying it as a linear climb upwards, when in many ways we have actually slipped backwards from it, and the number you're using is the 70s. We'll use the 70s, right? For example, wealth inequality in the United States has skyrocketed since the 70s. Union membership is on the decline. The actual life
In the single
expectancy right
digits.
now in the U.S. is going down. People's ability to own
Percentages.
homes is going down. Like, I respect that you want to take an incrementalist approach, but this incrementalist approach will allow plenty of backsliding, right? And backsliding is something we cannot allow.
when you say you cannot allow, I don't think it's a natural course of progress though. You're going to always take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And yes, it's not ideal, but politics is the art of the possible. And when we say
Well,
things like we can't allow it, you can't kind
Possible
of
is only
stop
what's
it, not
when you
without going
limit
into
your
some really
imagination to, and
tyrannical,
what society at
you
large
know.
limits its imagination
yeah,
to.
two steps forward and what's called 2 steps forwards, 3 steps back could very well just as be everything going straight back. There's absolutely no guarantee that the 2 steps forward means anything if it's going to go back, because it could go straight all the way back.
Exactly.
I'm going to push back just slightly on you because we're using policy in terms of police statistics. Yes, we put body cams on. We put body cams on them, and then oh, violent crime went down. Oh, but they're starting to go back up. Why? Because they're knowing how to get around the body cams.
Yeah, but only murders. To be clear, crime in general is down.
My point being, how far is the policy going to cut? Is it just going to be a surface wound bandage, or are we ripping the whole thing out and putting a whole new thing in place? Policy can only go so far because, again, policy is a band-aid. We need a genuine new institution to build from that point forward. So I get what you're saying, and exactly, we need new cop culture. We need to get rid of that one asshole who's going around telling everyone you're a sheep in wolf's clothing, or you're a dog against the sheep in the wolf's herd, and he's teaching combat. He's teaching. I'm sorry, I'm talking out my ass. My point being, though, is
too.
Yeah.
So the problem is that
I do also. Bob Barker, did you want to say something? You haven't gotten a chance to say anything.
Yeah, I was just gonna agree with what Amber said over there, which is that policy is a band-aid. You can only do so much with policy, but the institution will still remain broken in certain ways. We see it through all the different institutions in America. We always try to find a policy type of solution to fix things, but at the end of the day, the institution will still remain broken in some way because we're not actually addressing the problems that are in the institution. We're just addressing the small problems or the large problems that come to the spotlight of people. So,
I'm all for institutional reform. It's just it's very hard because you can't even get leftists to agree on what the new thing they want to see is, and it's a fight. And there's a very real chance that, as imperfect as our institutions are now, that if we destroy them and put in something new, that we're going to have something worse. It's a very real risk we have to keep in mind.
My revolution is bloodless. My revolution is
that's good.
Don't join the Democratic Party. Start your own party. That's the revolution. Start your own party.
I would love to have a WIC party at some point.
I work with a number of far left organizations, and there's a pretty consistent vision amongst us. I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Yeah. Also, there've been a number of attempts.
View. Are we going with this?
There've been a number of attempts for new parties to form independently over the last 20 years, and they always had traction up until they got to the national, that national election. All of a sudden, the third option isn't really an option. For some people, it always seemed you had, you couldn't. We're so stuck in the two-party system. It's not even just it's not even just a policy thing as well. That in itself also isn't just a policy thing. We just believe that there has to be two parties. When
we created
in reality, when in reality we've had all these independents. Was it Ron Paul who ran as a third-party candidate in 2010, I think it was. There's someone who was
there was Gary Johnson. There was in 2010. I also don't remember.
I'm not sure.
Around 2010, but they've been in the Republican Party. There've been options where you hear and the traction is actually really, really, really good, because normally people lean into that third option because that first option is too that first option is possibly just too closed-minded, and this third option is kind of giving more options and more policies that are missing, and so people kind of side with that. In 2020, wasn't it Yang with UBI, I think, people getting super excited, wanting him to create his own kind of policies in his own group and stuff like that. But all of a sudden we get to you get to the crux of it, or you get to you get down to the brass tacks of it, everything, and then it's all of a sudden everything just disappears, and all we see is Biden, and that's happened over and over. There's it's on both sides, honestly. I don't know if you guys have.
Again, we talked about bipartisan gerrymandering and how that's a bad thing that supports a two-party system and things like that. And that's an institutional policy that needs to be addressed. It needs to be changed because it's part of the institutional monopoly that I don't disagree with anything you just said. And you guys, I think we're all closer than we want to admit here. We all want change. We all want things to get better. We're just disagreeing on how to do that. And I think that historically, if we take the longer view and we look away from this presentism, that I think we get way too stuck on this presentism that everything's always the worst it's ever been. Everything's always it's a catastrophe just around the next corner and just around the next bend. We have to realize that most things we've kind of gone through before, and we've survived, and we've progressed overall, and we need to ensure that we kind of continue to do what has historically worked.
No, I 100% disagree with that. I 100% disagree with that.
It's and honestly, if anything, it's proven that it's failed recently.
You get to a point. You get to
U.S. history.
The Green New Deal. The Green New Deal failed. That was genuinely what we already got. What I'm saying.
But we passed the largest.
But I'm saying it's what they had got. We had gotten it though. We had already gotten it at one point, and we still can't get it again. It was we're basically in the same kind of situation, and they can't get us what we've basically already had. Go ahead.
The entire arc of U.S. history has been it being sort of a middling power to start and rising up into global hegemony, right? The U.S. has basically almost never had a period where it has seen its power and prestige on the global stage decline, actually. There's almost no precedent for it in U.S. history. There are periods of 10 years at most that you can look to for periods of which the U.S. power overall shrunk. This is very unprecedented. Climate change is also very, very unprecedented, right? The fact that people are expecting real equality in the United States, right? That is not unprecedented, but it's the first time we actually have a real a window to actually achieve that and the solidarity needed to gain it. So I push back on it. These are unprecedented times.
Also, the other
just
thing
sticking to old doctrine will lead you to old failures.
Okay, you act as if I'm saying we should never do anything new, and that is not what I'm saying.
No, that's not what you're saying. No.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we are letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. We are our own worst enemy in a very real way.
Liberalism
instead of working with other people to get 60-70% of what we want, we want all of it or we want none of it. And people are like, well, fine, you get nothing.
Because
you
it's
get to
not
sit
going to
there
be
with your
soon
thumb
enough,
up your butt,
frankly.
getting nothing. And I would
Because
rather
it's too little too late. I get.
And
Yeah,
you also
it's too
keep
little
talking.
too late. It's just gonna,
You also keep talking about perfect. It's not perfection that's needed. The issues that we have today are not issues we can lean into our history once again as we have in the past to try and solve. It's just at some point you can reach back into history so many times to look for answers, and they're just not. They just aren't there. You see that
you just wouldn't like them.
Oh yes, I mean they are, but even like they'll take us back, and we would even be we'd be even further back than we were before. So
I just reject this idea that incrementalism, like I see it in chat, and I'm sorry but incrementalism working. It is fucking working. It's working slowly, but it's not working the best it could. It's not.
But
the most
it's not
efficient,
what we
but it's
need.
fucking working.
It's not what we need. But it's not what we need. It's
Exactly.
not. It's
In
working.
times of
It's working
prosperity,
until it
it's fine.
doesn't. Yeah. Exactly.
But,
It's working until
we're
it
not
doesn't.
in
This is
times of
completely
prosperity.
unprecedented. We need to start throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks.
I mean, it's not even throwing stuff at the wall. We know what we need to do. It is simply that the political institutions that be are either
I want
too
radical
cowardice
change.
or too invested in the systems that be to ever even consider these hard changes that need to be taken.
Well, let's look at one of the. Let's look at one
I'm
of the
talking
recent
right
changes.
now.
Sorry?
Wick, I'm talking right now. Thank you. Right? Is liberalism has definitively failed in the United States. It has produced outcomes, right? During
That's
our
demonstrably not true.
Did I say I'm talking?
Something that isn't supported by data. It isn't supported by facts. It isn't supported by history. It's ideology. It's religious zealotry.
Okay,
Do you
well,
not hear that I'm
calm down.
talking? Right? Thank you. Listen, during the period of colonialism, when bad times occurred, people could simply pick up and move out west, right? Liberalism worked during that period, right? During the industrial era, where we were one of the only industrialized nations and had abundant natural resources, or after World War II, when every European power was bombed to the Stone Age, liberalism worked during those times. But my dear, we're in a period where there are rising powers that, simply put, liberalism is too fucking slow and unwilling to challenge. The world is coming up on your heels, and we have policy that is not building a competitive United States for the modern age. College should be free. It's an investment in your citizenry, and it is good for your nation because it allows you to compete with the educated people being produced by other nations. But liberalism doesn't see it that way. It seeks profits and its own self-perpetuation. And so it is going to drown us if we let it keep doing it. This is just one example. There are numerous examples of liberal and capital being too unwilling to take the drastic steps needed to make a competitive United States, and it is fucking us. It is fucking us over.
Let me give you an example, if I may now interject here. Let's look at one of the examples that the progressive wing, especially, but Democrats bought this hook, line, and sinker and really pushed for recently, was getting rid of the filibuster. That would have been the worst possible thing for progressive change to happen in my lifetime. That would
Under
have been
this
the
Congress,
worst
probably, yeah.
possible idea. And the fact that everyone bought into this and advocated for it, it was amazing to me just how silly this idea is. Look, you know who else tried to end the legislative filibuster in the last 5 years? Donald J. Trump. He tried to get the Republicans in 2017 to get rid of the legislative filibuster. And the Republicans looked at him and said, "Are you stupid? Is that they're about to win the majority back? Maybe in 2018. We can't do this. This is a bad idea." And we're coming up at a time when the Democratic ticket is down for the first time in a long time in the general ballots and the general polls. I don't know if I believe polls anymore after all the fuckery that's gone on, but this is a data point that we need to take seriously. And to give it up now when we have a razor-thin margin, if that's the kind of drastic change you want,
I mean, Democrats are down because they were unwilling to take the drastic steps needed to enrich the American people.
But that wouldn't have enriched the American people. It would have set us back decades. Because all these voting things that are going on right now in state by state, all these voting shenanigans that Republicans are trying to pull, not only would they have been able to do that on a state by state level, they would have now been able to do it on a federal level. So you just give them more power and you take away the one tool, one of the few tools you have to just fucking, I don't know. Sorry. I get a rant with filibuster.
The filibuster is a tool for either side. All right. Honestly, with the speed at which the U.S. passes policy, I could go for a little bit more legislative dynamicism, a little bit more expediency with which legislation is passed. Frankly, I could go for it.
Well, that was the point, right? That Congress was supposed to be the Congress was supposed to essentially drag its heels on making policy. Not drag its heels, but essentially be slower than what the public was essentially doing, and probably take a more educated look at the current policies in place. So
Kobe,
that was basically the idea, I think.
Kobe, hey buddy,
Yeah,
thanks for
now it's
being
so
here.
slow, can't
Kobe,
get shit done.
thanks for being
What?
here. Do you want to say anything?
It fights itself just to fight itself.
Kobe?
I do.
Mhm.
I do. I think there's like a little bit too much of conflation here. Okay, going on with liberalism and incrementalism. You can be incrementalist, have a lot of different ideologies. I think that I would probably agree that a 90s neoliberal approach is not going to be very popular, be very effective to instigate progressive social change in 2020 or 2020's America. However, I think there's like a lot of voices in our the sort of typical institutions of democratic power, or traditional institutions of democratic power, that have a more social democratic leaning voice. And I think that it seems like I'm kind of just dropping in, but it seems like we're talking about big problem, unprecedented. I'm assuming we're having climate change. I'm assuming in that direction.
More or less, that's where the
That
conversation
would be
is
one.
gone.
That would
Yeah.
be one of them. Yeah.
Among other things, of course. I absolutely do think that a social democratic model could address the climate change. I think that sometimes people get a little bit too wrapped up in the socialism thing. I think that we forget that socialism's goal is not to make socialism goal is not to make a ecologically sustainable society necessarily. Socialism's goal is to more equalize the relationship between the worker and the means of productions for a society. You need to have sort of an independent thought process to your society to have to become more ecologically sustainable, and I think that is something that is totally moldable into social democracy. Something that was said earlier, that was said, throw anything at the wall because we're in such like a dire time. I kind of like in some way, I guess I understand. I agree, and like if things got a lot worse, I would agree more. Like if the democratic ability in the United States was like from the people was taken away to an extreme extent, I would agree. But I actually think that right now, with limited time, limited resources, I think we actually need decisive action. I was doing some Googling, but I was not able to find a sort of quick enough fact sheet to rattle off of some facts. But I think that we would all agree that as of right now, the current situation of America's plan on climate change is much better than it was under Trump. Obviously, that might be different in 5 years or 4 years time if Trump wins again. But I especially from a populist perspective, I don't think that the critique, well, incrementalism is bad because what if somebody comes along and undoes the incrementalism? I think that is actually a problem that you reach at both poles if we're looking at incrementalism versus a more radical populist perspective, right? Populist opinions and populist leaders sway with the wind. You might have the group decide they don't like this person anymore and radically go to a different direction. There were a whole lot of people that loved Trump that 2 years ago were talking about how amazing America is, Operation Warp Speed, Trump made the vaccine, and those same people now think the vaccine was made in Bohemian Grove with adrenochrome. So populism is something that changed a lot. So go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, so I mean, I hear you. It's just one of the underlying, at least in my head, maybe like I'm crazy, but one of the underlying things that I've like that are within this are, we operate as a democracy, as an example for democracy around the world, and around the world, authoritarianism is something that is always going to move faster as far as creating policy and stuff like that. It's always going to move a little faster because it's just one person making decisions. Whereas we follow bureaucracy and we follow the people, however perfect or imperfect it is. But this conversation's under that guise as we're looking at the policies that that are ahead of us, that are big, that we need to make decisions on, and this dragging is just not going to keep up with us keeping that example. Whereas other countries that are more authoritarian are now making decisions quicker and acting on those decisions around the world.
Do we think that the
something
hegemony, the American hegemony, to address your point directly, do we think that that's a bad thing necessarily, that America is going off as the sole superpower on the world stage? I get there are risks with it, but
I would say, for at least for me, I would say in the short term, it's not a bad thing. In the long term, it is.
Okay. No, that's fair. I mean that I could agree with that, to be honest with you. I just I'm not I'm not sure enough about it to really leap one way. I'm withholding judgment till I see more of the effects. Does that make sense?
One of the places to kind of start to look, at least for me, that I've kind of been personally looking at is Africa, and how much China's influence has grown in Africa, and how quickly, yeah, and like how
And can I
how
just say,
easily it is for like a government to stand in the good graces of a group of people. And Africa has always been the resource center of the whole world. And so that in itself, and being able to engage in that, I think is at least for me, I see it as a foreshadowing of a future of what we're looking at. It's sort of like these things tend to happen first in Africa, at least from what I've noticed, and then they tend to show up in other countries as well.
I actually don't disagree at all. I think that most developing nations are probably going to go an authoritarian path just for development because it is quicker, and for climate change mitigation because it's quicker. A lot of the places that are going to be most affected by it are not in America; they're in the third world, most affected by climate change. However, I have a very pessimistic view on climate change, or the response to climate change in general, and I do believe that I don't think we're going to see a big America, Russia, everybody kumbaya coming together. I think we're going to see actually a very atomized approach. I think there are going to be a lot of I think you already see this projections of what land is going to become more valuable. You already see Russian billionaires buying up land in Siberia that's right now tundra that they know in 20 years is going to be really good, and they're going to give to their kids to make turn into some sort of rich people resort or something.
They don't care about global climate change at all. Just a quick point to add to that. They don't care about global climate change at all because they can go around the top. Instead of having to go through the canal, they can send their steel over top to China now. So because the ice caps are gone.
Care about climate change. There are Russians who care about it.
Oh yeah, because the tundra's falling apart and they hate it, but the oligarchy is the oligarchy.
I actually think everybody cares about climate change. If you look at if you actually read the internal, there's a very good book or a series of books by William Vorman called the first book is called No Good Solution. I don't remember what the rest of the books are called, but it's about climate change. If you actually read the Exxon reports, they're actually very concerned about climate change, and they were very concerned in the 1970s about oil being nuclear taking over, and they're very worried about all these kinds of things. I actually think that these big governments care. What I'm trying to say is that what they care about is okay, this is going to be a redrawing of the borders. The places that matter on the globe are going to change more. The places that are going to be valuable for this, that, and this are going to change more. And I think that's the pessimistic views. It's going to be not how do we, so I don't know.
In fact, I can give you some sort of insider information. I'm not going to spill too much, but essentially, just tonight, I was hearing about internal negotiations that are happening between an oil workers union and a big oil refinery in the South Bay area. And one of the demands is basically for the oil company in question to commit to essentially a greening project, a transitionary project, to sort of move into more sustainable fields. This was pushed for by the oil workers union, and the company essentially said, "Go fuck yourself. Maybe you can serve as an advisory role, but we are not going to do this if on your demand." And so, forgive me for taking maybe sharing even your point of view that it's going to be. It's not that they care about it, of course, but they care about it only in so much as how it will affect their bottom line, as they have the capacity and the monetary resources to escape the worst of the disasters.
Pause for a second. Yeah. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the stream, help us out. Help out the channel. Subs to the channel if you've been liking this discussion that's gone literally all over the place. It's not at all what I originally planned to discuss at all. But if you like having this space, if you enjoy it, then support this channel by subbing. $5 does that. It keeps us up and running. So consider subbing to the channel or gifting bits or gifting subs. If you have the Amazon Prime/Prime Gaming, you can gift to the channel for free. Yes, I know. I remind you this all the time, but I'll do it again. You can help out the channel for free. So consider helping out the channel on that way. Or, of course, if you can extend a sub, right? And get discounts that way. Many ways to support. If you got a resub, use resubs, resub messages. They're also helpful here too. Or you can gift bits, or you can give subs. That's how we keep it up and running. So if we start have a hype train, that'd be amazing. And help keep this stream alive, right? So if you appreciate having these open panels every night, where random individuals can show up, consider subbing to the channel. If you like the fact that we have other spaces like All Black Everything, which we'll be doing on tomorrow, then sub to the channel, help us out, right? Invest in this community. Or if you like the small council or Reverie or Amazon Lily, or all the things that we do, or the interviews or anything like that, right? We have a whole lot of content here. So consider helping out the channel, subbing to the channel, gifting bits or gifting subs to keep us up and running, right? We can't do it without you, so we need your help. So subs to the channel if you haven't done so yet. If you're out there sitting out there without a generic purple star, well then change that, please. By hitting that sub button. Investing $5 into this community to keep us alive. Or of course you can use our PayPal button. We have a PayPal button below, and if you use that PayPal button, more of your money gets to us through PayPal. We appreciate people helping us through PayPal, or the X switch we're doing it in chat. Another way to do that if you're not on desktop, switch we're doing it in chat. Is another way. Yeah, there we go. My bot's late. Okay, yeah, I switch to it in chat. But yeah, thank you for those who have been supporting. Yeah, help out the channel, sub to the channel, to keep us up and running, guys. So yeah, thank you so much. I will try again soon. So go ahead, new person Sly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh shit, I'm fucking like drawing a blank now. Like
The big pause like we saw in that video. I realized you got into it too.
yeah. Oh yes, that's what I was gonna say. Thank you. Actually, that brought me back. I was gonna say the connection actually, where one of the things that I sort of see is that sometimes how certain countries make big decisions informs how they make the smaller decisions, or what we would consider to be smaller decisions. So while there is a little bit of pessimism as to how America's handling its bigger decisions that are like climate change and these other, I guess we'll get into the whole Russia and China ordeal like around the world and being an example. I think more than ever, I think that has to be, if that doesn't become like the first stage, like forefront thing that they start to work on, we're nothing, like we're fucked. Okay, like we're just fucked, because like I think that informs people on a smaller scale, where you have, okay, we're being more inclusive, we're spreading like democracy in itself. So there's this concept that where if you sort of like keep to yourself or keep to your faction, that or grow your own faction where you have people who sort of believe what you believe, and you kind of get stuck in that, and you hear that in the Republican Party and you hear that on the far left too, that will eventually, like the world will eventually be okay, when in reality you'll be okay, but the world in itself, as far as it moving forward, which is the incrementalism, it's not gonna move. You're not gonna move. So the concept and the idea of sort of like
thanks for the $4.20 to our donation link, whoever you may have been. Thank you for that. Much appreciated.
I don't think that's.
I'll take it from here. Yeah. Well, no, I definitely agree. What's it called? I definitely agree. It all falls from the top. Whatever the king wants to do is what the serfs do. Whatever the president wants to do is what everyone else does. Everyone falls in lockstep because it's easier to conform than to be the one to push against and be the radical to get left
Much
out in the
easier,
cold.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, yes, the big decisions will absolutely inform the smaller ones. Now, America is obviously going to take a more capitalistic and neoliberal approach to climate change, which will probably lead to more fractionalization and less cohesive narrative as to why we shouldn't be a part of the Paris Climate Accord. So, the fact that, okay, then to combat against that and the incremental change, the only way to really do that would be the radical acts. You need the strong man. The left needs a Trump.
So,
I mean, I don't want to put that
The
far
left needs a Trump.
kind of a point on it.
No, we do not. No, we do not.
No, we do not. But we need policy, and we need engagement, and we need traction, and we need vigilance to actually push back against the TPA meetings and the people. Not a pop. We need people who are. We need gumption. We need chutzpah.
So what we need, I agree with that, but I think one of the things that's holding us back from that is we tend to, again, as I said in the beginning, and this isn't a right thing or a left thing, it's a people thing. We are engaging more and more in this kind of secondary sanctions amongst ourselves. It's like, not only do I dislike this person and their opinions enough that I'll never have them on my show, I'll never discuss with them, I'll never work with them, but if you are seen working with that person or having them on your show or working with them on a bill, then I will not work with you either. And it's called a secondary sanction in an economics kind of sense. And it's causing a lot of atomization.
It's just another way of saying blacklisting. That's all.
Blacklisting,
and
something like that.
Yeah,
dude, I don't see this as that big.
No, that's a huge deal. That's a huge driver of fractionalization in policy.
It deals to a lot of, well, okay, in policy, the only way that I've ever really seen it done on Twitter is it's used largely as a cudgel and harassment. That's the only time I've ever really seen it used.
It's done in electoral politics as well, though.
Okay.
You paint a member of a party as, and you see this all the time, is like, they work with Alexandra Ocasio, so they must be exactly like her, and if you hate her, you must hate them as well. And
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, exactly, on the other side. Or this gem of a woman that we're reading about today, just a real class act, you know. And if you are on this side, you must be for this. And it's fractionalizing, and it's making it impossible to work on things. Like, we could work with Republicans on certain issues, not all issues, but climate change is one, I think, that both parties have a very real invested interest in working to solve. You don't think so? You don't think that
that's false.
What, that Republicans don't want to do shit about climate change?
Let me rephrase that. Okay, because I think you just phrased it a little poorly. That both of the voter bases, regardless of their perception, have a shared material interest in not being fucking 6 feet underwater or living in a fucking locust storm.
I think that yes, they both have the need, but that
they both need the system to survive.
Don't want to act on it.
But at the end of the day, these relations are the prime relations we have to each other. Right, these are material connections we have to each other, right? That's just facts. Okay, maybe I have a different perception to a "Let's go Brandon" shouting person from the South, but if we're probably both a working class person. Not 90%, but majority are.
And if I can work with even the most right winger righty "Let's go Brandon" shouting person, if I can get them and I have. And if you talk to them one-on-one, and if you look at individual ballot initiatives, even in very red states, progressive policies, for the most part, tend to pass. Like, even in these very red states, they tend to pass legalization of weed. They tend to pass things like raising the minimum wage, expansion of healthcare. Even a very red legislative that voted for Trump by 20 points, these things, when put on an individual ballot, pass. We know this.
But they're not what we need.
Exactly. The issue there is you are willing to work. You're willing to work with. You're willing to work with other people across the line, but you go in with a mindset that this person is crazy, and so you're trying to get you're trying to get the smallest thing you can get, and if you get even one small concession, you count that as the biggest victory ever. When if you're going in with that mindset, why even try
Well, I'm
to
not
begin with?
going in with that mindset, and we
You-
shouldn't. I think
Which
people do, but it's harmful. I think that's what I'm railing against, that we shouldn't view the other side as crazy. They're not crazy. They're rational individuals just like us. They just look at the data
are
and
you
draw
sure
different
about the?
conclusions.
We just heard a lady. Are you sure she's that?
Again, you look at this one example and you extrapolate it in a very weird way.
I
to
mean, she is.
include-
She
I
is
mean,
running.
obviously,
She is
yeah.
running.
If there's gonna be cohesion, we need to figure out a way to work within ourselves.
Okay,
Obviously,
hold
we point and laugh at the extremes because they're
Pause for a
funny.
second. Thank you, Wicked Supreme. Sorry, I missed that raid. But thank you for the 128 person raid. Hello, everyone. For Wicked Supreme's stream. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Yeah. So we're having this conversation. It's been all over the place. But this is an open walk-on panel if that interests you, right? Where we allow viewers to come on. Exclamation for open in chat. If you want to be a part of this, right? And if not, well, hit that follow button. Come back to our stream sometime. Hit that follow button. Make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. We do this all the time, 6 nights a week. So hop out. Yeah. So come back in the future. Exclamation point social and chat for our social media. Follow us on social media for our Twitter, our YouTube, and our Facebook. YouTube's for find the VODs, right? And Discord is did I say Facebook? Oh man, why did I say that? I've said that like twice, like in the past week. I don't know why. But Twitter, YouTube, and Discord. Discord is where we have these conversations. But anyway, thank you again, Wicked Supreme, for the kindness for that raid, and I hope you had a really good one yourself. Okay.
So can I just walk back something I said that was wrong? That I realized I said.
Sure, and then I want to get it.
I want to
it.
finish my point, but
Like,
if you're
just-
correcting, go ahead. I had a
I'm
point
correcting
to finish,
myself because I made
Okay.
I made a statement that was factually incorrect.
Yeah.
The Republican Party isn't rational, but neither are we. Everyone here are rational actors. We're all irrational actors here. Like, we like to think of ourselves as rational beings, but none of us are.
Okay, but should we operate that is our base state and that will never change and will never be rational?
Of course not.
Or should we aspire to be rational?
What we should be doing is we should be trying to ascribe towards the rational. What we should also be doing is recognizing the level of engagement we are giving when we do interact with the said questionable person of the other side. Are we just passively letting them spout their mind off, or are we actively engaging and pushing back against them, i.e. Joe Rogan? That would be my statement as to why we need to work within ourselves. That's how you gauge that level of reaction.
Okay, hold on. I want to hop in here. Okay.
Go ahead.
I was watching a video recently. It was talking about an Alan Moore comic called The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And apparently, and I read this comic, but apparently at one part in this, there's like a part where that's like it's like a 3D. It's like old school 3D where it's like red and blue and it's like side by side or whatever, right? And on one of the pages, you look at it, and it's like a spirit world and the real world. And if you close one eye and you look at it through the blue, you see like the real world, and the other side's a spirit world. I gotta think that is like how we're going on. Everybody in America, I agree with Wick. We're all watching the same movie. We're all looking at the same protests. We're all looking at the same murders. We're all looking at the same political developments. But I think that we have different glasses on that are highlighting different things, or emphasizing other things, that are coloring things, that are pushing connections that other people don't see. And I think that I agree that we can't just accept that we're going to be irrational for whatever. We have to just throw rationality to the wind. We have to understand what type of glasses are the people we're talking about, what do they have on, and to be able to change their mind.
It's all about speaking people's language, and to a very real extent, the left and the right are speaking different languages, and they may use a term, and like defund the police is a good example. The left means one thing, the right thinks they mean another. When the right uses CRT being taught in schools, they mean one thing, the left thinks they mean something else entirely, and so we're all talking past each other in a very real way. But instead of trying to understand and to change our way of communication to fit, we are demanding that the other side come to us. And I think it's just too hard of an ask. It's not something that's going to be effective. And again, electoral politics is how we do things in America, for better and worse. And I am really worried about the midterms. There's a lot of factors that are going on that are sending out warning bells. Not to mention that the midterms traditionally are not good for the incumbent party. In the last 20 years, the incumbent party has, as in the words of Obama, had a shellacking during the midterms. Add to that the fact that poll after poll shows that Americans are more pessimistic than ever, that Americans are more down than ever, and you're getting a situation where we need to be able to change the narrative. We need to be able to speak to these people across the aisle, or we're going to be taking like 5-10 steps back in the name. I don't know.
I mean,
well, one of the easiest ways.
Politics ain't this thing you do once a year.
Yeah.
It's not something where you just walk to a polling place, cast a vote, and forget about it.
I actually don't.
Politics is something that you have to engage in every. If this is something that means the world to you and is important to you, you need to roll up your sleeves and start, fucking doing things to make that change a reality. The policy part of it, the part where the big change happens, big Mr. Man signs a funny letter saying, bad bridges are over, right? It only occurs, as sort of the climax point of a lot of fucking boring work that you have to do to get to that point.
Absolutely, but we have to have people in power that will actually sign the paper. We have to have people that will sign the paper, and Wick is completely correct here, right? We just like 30 minutes ago, we were talking about climate change and how we have to have it's not going to matter if we can get 90% of Californians to agree with some sort of radical climate proposal. If the people that are voting and the people that are the funny men in suits are not going to sign the paper, we're not going to get shit done, and it doesn't matter what happens. Right, I don't disagree that unions matter, protest matters, public perception matters, foreign countries and their influence matters. These all matter, but elected officials in our country are the quintessential to anything happening, and I think so. I think Wick's problem here is totally legitimate.
Well, if that's your problem, get rid of the incumbent.
Even your political people, you have to do some hard, annoying work to get them in. Even
there are concessions you have to give in order to get a particular individual in there.
But speaking of concessions, I actually wanted to critique something Wick said. I actually 100% agree. We have to meet people where we are, but I think we have to remember that can be too much of a dangerous mindset. I think that people could rightly criticize some of the conversations that someone like Mr. Girl has had with people on the far right of just completely just talking to them and trying to empathize with them. You need to have some principles, so you're sort of rubber banding, where you're saying, I'm going to tie myself with one of those bungee cords. I'm going to come to you. I'll go into the other words. I think they do this in the show Stranger Things. So they tie themselves and they go into the other side. But I can pull myself back if shit goes crazy. I have a cord. I can pull myself back. I think you have to remember that, especially if you're engaging with people that have very disagreeable ideas.
And that's a very fair point. That's a very fair point.
I don't know. You don't think you disagree with it?
You have to. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But we do this thing in politics and electoral politics and things like that. And I wish I could remember if it was the Build Back Better bill or the infrastructure bill or the voting bill. One of these bills, Joe Manchin was a roadblock to it. I think it was the Build Back Better. Correct me if I'm wrong. I very well might be. It's a little late, and I might not have my ducks in a row here. But so if I'm giving false information, please correct me immediately. But Build Back Better here. He thought it was too expensive. He didn't like it. He was loath to vote for it because it was just too much. And I think he was accurately representing his voter base that he was responsible for in that. So instead of just giving him the pen and letting him write the legislation that he would vote for, we've done things like Bernie Sanders is like, I'm going to challenge him in the primary or support someone to challenge him in the primary. And just give him the pen, let him write, because he has the power now in this situation. Let him write what he will vote for, and then get that passed. And it's not going to be everything we want, but it's going to be better than nothing.
No, he should be challenged in his primary, though.
Yeah, and
who do you think you're gonna get? Like in
you live in a democracy. Why shouldn't we be allowed to challenge him?
You can. That's possible. But do you think that anyone but Manchin can win in his area?
I think you overestimate the reactionary character of West Virginia.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't.
You said it yourself earlier in these conversations.
I'm not a fortune
I don't want to.
You have said it yourself in these conversations that when progressive stuff comes to ballot, even in conservative places, it passes. So if Manchin isn't being reactionary and not passing these progressive things that need to be done, and someone says, "I will do it. I will." Ensure that the transition away from the fossil. Am I talking? Am I talking, or are you talking?
Yeah, but you're saying something, and there's a really important.
Okay, I'm getting to a point, so you're going to be quiet while I finish my sentence. Thank you. So the question is, right? Are you going? Fucking, don't interrupt people. It's so fucking rude, right? If I am a progressive challenger there, right, one of the big things that is a burning question to a lot of West Virginians, for instance, is the transition away from a coal-based economy, right? Manchin is loath to do so. He's invested into the coal industry, and so he's trying to essentially hold on to coal with its last dying breath. If I'm a progressive challenger and I say, hey, the writing's on the wall, coal's on the way out, we are going to get you a clean transition to better jobs, right? We are going to build, wind farms, solar, whatever out here, right? Or we're going to find this new industry that it's going to move out here, and we're going to ensure that your bosses don't throw you out on the street and that you will have, viable work after coal is done, right? Progressive challengers at that, I think they actually might do pretty all right.
Okay,
I was just about to agree. I was just about to agree with him. Essentially, point to where his words don't match his actions.
Sure.
He says some things, but it's obvious he's completely off on his own.
Remember West Virginians paddling out to his fucking mega yacht, and people are like, "Fuck that guy!" Like, there is most certainly a non-reactionary character to West Virginia.
So I will say this: that in general, as I said with the ballot initiatives, and I did say this so myself, that when you look at individual policies, these tend to pass, and these tend to be very popular, even in right-wing spaces. But the people, the Democrats themselves, the progressives and liberals, are absolutely not. And they will refuse to vote in their own best interest if it means they have to swallow the package deal that they believe that they are getting, because they don't want everything on offer from the progressive table. They want very specific things. And so if you try to go more
educate them on how those progressive ideals are actually far better in their interest than what they've already got.
This idea that more education brings the convergence of views is not supported by data. When you educate people on a topic, the more educated they get, their views actually tend to do the opposite. They tend to diverge. They tend to fractionalize. And so the more educated you are on a topic, the more likely it is that you're going to have very substantial differences than a group of people who are less educated on the topic. And so
you're not going to get blown over in a windstorm.
Just saying educate them on this hasn't been working. It comes off to them. I'm not saying it is. I don't think it is. But to them, it comes off as condescending because they have, in a very real way, researched it, looked at this data, and just came to different conclusions.
So you're talking about a personality of tone. Obviously, we just get better educators then, I would say. You need to address them on a personal level and tell them.
I've knocked in highly conservative neighborhoods, and I seem to have a pretty great reception when I go out there.
I don't think this
because I don't come off as like a fucking academic, condescending prick, you know.
I really hope I'm wrong.
As an aside, didn't Manchin just keep his seat just recently? Didn't he just get a second term or something? Or am I just like tripping?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Yep, not sure off the top of my head, my dear.
How long is I wonder how long he's still in that.
Well,
he's going to be in that seat.
It's 6-year term in the Senate, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So he won, and he's got another 4, I think, to go, right? Or am I doing my math wrong? I don't know. I've been out of country for a little bit. Sorry.
But like, here's the thing: there is no harm in challenging the gentleman in a primary, right? And if the primary challenger loses, goes to general, he whips the Republican's ass. But like, if a primary challenger beats him out, then it's clear that's the more popular person, and we should be throwing all our resources behind them instead of fucking a lot of the backstabby shit that tends to happen when a progressive challenger ekes their way in on the fucking Democratic ballot.
What we need to do is this is something that I hate that it's true, but I cannot deny that it's true. That
Right.
even though I would like more progressive candidates, I'd probably not go as far as you. I know for sure I wouldn't go as far as you guys, but I would like a more progressive option on the table. But one of the things that is
Alright.
unfortunately true is that that's not going to win. That's not going to win in these areas.
Why?
It's just not.
That's
I'm sorry. I just
what's
I'm
your
actually-
solution? If it's not going to win, what's your solution?
We get people
just
like
accept.
Manchin. We get people.
Yeah,
like, in these
I
areas,
refuse
we
to
run
think
people
that
like
it's just throw my. I'm sorry. I refuse to take it. I'm actually. It's like 2:30. I'm actually going to go to bed really soon.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
yeah.
engaging.
No,
with
you're
me.
welcome.
I've enjoyed the conversation. I'm gonna.
Me too. We should do this again sometime. But it just. I refuse to believe it's just a throw your hands up and leave it alone kind of situation with it, because if it's coming off as a condescension tone, then they're not explaining it properly. That's the only other way I can think of it. So, anyway, night everyone. My name is Zambar RCK, and I plan to do streamings Wednesday through Saturday. Peace.
Hey, good night.
All right.
Same
See ya.
here.
And it's not just a. It's not just. I'm not advocating nothing. I'm not advocating doing nothing. I'm advocating taking more palatable candidates in red states, in red districts that won't be as progressive as we'd like, but would be more progressive than crazy they make me uncomfortable lady here. That will be more progressive than, but still enough on the conservative side that they will still win.
But you do understand the whole point of all of this is that would count as a concession, right? Remember when I was saying that?
Work.
But this is the point that I have been making all along, that it's a mentality thing where even before Manchin gets a challenger, you're already in this mind state. You are already in this mind state where
Defeated yourself.
You don't believe that the most resources should be put into that position to try and win. You believe in just accepting the fate, and this is the position we're in, and this is what we'll see what little we can get. Let's try and dialogue. Possibly Manchin will possibly change his mind.
Do you think it would be wise for the Republican Party to run a right-wing nut job? When we think of right-wing nut job, super pro-gun, pro-oppression, pro-everything, pro-voter restrictions, and take it and put it in the most left-leaning district they can find and expect any chance of winning? Do you think suddenly, by running that the Democrats are suddenly going to go, oh, wow, well, if this is on offer, I think we'll go for it? Of course not. That's silly. To think that is mind-blowingly.
Do you remember this? Do you remember the centrist Amy McGrath, right, who ran against McConnell? Turns out, it can go in reverse. She was a very centrist person with borderline conservative values, and she challenged McConnell, and she fucking got blown out of the water, right? And frankly, the Democrats spent a lot of that race purposefully sabotaging the progressive challenger to McGrath. So,
okay, but
I hate this self-defeating mentality.
Acting like the progressive wouldn't have gotten shellacked even worse is silly.
I don't think he would. He was a working class man who didn't come off as a condescending prick. And he promised jobs programs. We can't know what might have happened,
unfortunately, so we have no actual data on this.
So,
it's hard. This should be us.
I wanted to hear from a new person. Hello, is it Santaya? Sonata,
Hello.
excuse me.
No, it's okay.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you. Do you want to add something?
Right now, since everything's kind of been, it sounded like it's been a little bit all over the place. I was just kind of waiting to see if there was a new contention or topic at hand to jump in.
All right. Well, back at it, guys.
Oh well. Oh, okay. I'll ask you on if you don't have an opinion, that's fine. But on this topic, do you think in general that it is a good idea to and the two options we have presented, as I understand them, and please correct me if I'm misrepresenting, is to run on progressive values even in deep red states because
Run
that
on an
will give a people.
economically
Can I finish?
progressive
Can I
always.
finish? Like you interrupt. Like you yell at me for interrupting you. So please
Yeah, I
let
said
me
5 words.
finish.
Get on with it.
So, uh, so the two options are one, run a very progressive person in deep red districts and states, and to give people a real choice. So instead of just conservative or conservative light, they have an actual choice. That's one option. Another option, however, is to appeal to the voter base, and to give a more Joe Manchin-like candidate in these districts, in these spaces that we know that can win in these different spaces. So which do you have an opinion on that at all? Or?
Appealing to the voter base. You're implying that he's internally popular, or that ideology is internally popular, and not that Manchin is a pariah on that grounds because he has an incredibly strong name recognition in the region. Anyways.
So I would like to add, like, I think this, I guess the line of the argument would probably be more clear if you could point to like certain states, right? Like if there was like certain, if you can give like certain specific examples, like Florida or Georgia, right?
Sure. Okay. Let's look at. I'm trying to think of like Kansas, for example. It's traditionally kind of a red area at a red place. Correct? Am I wrong here? But nationally, it tends to go red.
Sure.
Correct? Sure. Yeah. If we can pick. Oh, go on. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw someone interrupted me. But if we can pick a a less progressive, a more liberal candidate, something that won't trigger some of the reactions that conservatives tend to have against CRT and against, oh, they're going to take our guns, and those common like they're actually a socialist type of thing. I think that we have a more strong chance of winning and getting a Democratic seat that may not vote with us 100%, but will vote for us more than a conservative would. I think that's a good thing, and that as SEAL Team Raz is asking, does he want more moderates? Kinda in red states. I would like more moderate candidates to be put forth, so they have an actual chance of winning.
Well,
this is crazy. I think... Kansas progressive wins write-in campaign. James Thompson. That's wild, huh? Anyways, carrying on.
Real quick, in regards to that, I think, how do I say, like, what I think Republicans, they bank on populism, and the populism tends to be economic. Mm-hmm. So there is this sort of like, there is the point that's like, okay, that's the like in their minds, like they see like what socialism really is as like what Tucker Carlson says, right? Like rather like what it was like, rather what leftism truly is as what Tucker Carlson says, like the shit he says, like we need better jobs for people, like the like how do I say, like their economic policies are like in regards to immigration, which is fucking stupid, but like they want, I think they want better economic opportunities in their area, and I think that's something a candidate should do to win, like a Democratic candidate. But I think in regards to, you say like Joe Manchin, like I don't think that he has, maybe I don't know, that like I don't think moderates have that in mind. Like I don't even think they use that kind of language, right? Like if you were to get Bernie Sanders in Kansas in campaign, like I don't think, like I don't think, I think he would have as good of a chance as Joe Manchin would, maybe even better. I really think like you, as long as you include, like there is, how do I say, like
appeal to what people need and they will vote for you, strangely enough.
Right.
This just hasn't borne out when reality hits the road here. When it comes to actual, when we go to the ballot box, this hasn't borne out as a thing that's happened in the last.
I mean, they just, it hasn't happened often, but it can happen. when there are people who actually do
when they're
go ahead
supported
and
by the party.
yeah, there are actually
Sure,
people
there
who
are
actually go.
outliers, and I get that. There are outliers, but that does not change the general
The
trend.
Democratic Party apparatus doesn't support their progressive candidates or give them resources. In fact, it's often quite famous for sabotaging.
But there's no real evidence that if they did, that it would change the outcome.
I literally
my disagreement is more. It's not necessarily this. At least to me, this doesn't even really. Joe Manchin is really a filler to what the issue is in a way, because it's more in the sense of like it's more in the sense of like a mindset where it's like some people just believe we need to, or maybe to be more specific, the way we need to handle bureaucracy or any sort of like policy making is you person on the left, you person on the right, you two come with your ideas, don't budge, fight as long as you can, and then at the very last minute concede on the least important thing that you are willing to give up on with the least amount of pushback that you can get, and then that's what gets shit out as a decision. And that process in itself is just fucked. That process is I'm sorry. It's just it's work.
It's incredibly anti-working class. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about that. But I just think it's just something that is that way of creating policy is something that's not, that kind of leans into the laziness of leaning to history on how we do things, leaning to history on how we create policy, leaning to history on how we just go out each year voting in representatives who represent us in Congress. It all leans into that, and that's the problem. So that's why in a way I'm in, like, if the idea that you think that it would be a stupid idea for a leftist to run, or the most leftist person to run in the most red state with leftist policies, you can call that stupid if you want.
I wouldn't use the word stupid. I would use inefficient, ineffective.
Okay,
No,
but
stupid isn't the word I'd use. Ineffective, inefficient, won't work, stuff like that. Yeah.
But you're focusing. You're focusing on catering to the people as opposed to possibly introducing new ideas to those people that they have never even heard of, right? Because isn't this the issue that we have with this lady who we just saw, who was pausing and can barely even talk about transgender the right way, saying that they need to be laughed at? Because like we hear that and it's just like it's the most insane. It's insane because that person just probably hasn't been around circles that understand the nuance of what humans are out there, how different they can be.
Oh,
right.
And that's an issue.
I understand. I think I understand.
And that's an educational issue.
I think I understand what you're asking, we're positing, what you're saying here.
And you see how that leans into, let me finish one last thing here. Sure. You see how that leans into how that's fed by when you say that, oh, it's completely inefficient, we need to continue to cater to red states only seeing red state ideas and enforcing those, and blue states only seeing blue state ideas and enforcing those, and we need to continue to bring in representatives who enforce those. Like it's that type of thinking and that type of enforcement that leads to the government that we have now, where no one's satisfied on either side and no one knows what to do about it.
So I admit that the story I'm about to share is a little anecdotal, but it is the data that I have because I've lived it. I grew up in a military family. I grew up in a very religious family. I've lived all over the world. I was in the military myself. Currently, I'm in a very red district. I've almost always throughout my life lived in very red areas. So when we say that people aren't educated on these topics, I guarantee you that they know what's going on, and educated in many cases better. No, I won't use the same as. I'll use the same as because they're educated just as much as a leftist would be on these issues. Again,
I'm going to disagree with you on that, but you can keep going.
That's fine, and obviously that's not true across the board. But if I talk and I can go out, because people actually live and not just cows around me, but there are actually people around me where I'm living now. So I can go out and I can talk to them, and I have, and we can talk about these issues. They know what's going on. They just do not like it. Now, we talk about working class. In the last 20 years, the left has lost the working class to a large degree. It used to be that like we could really rely on this Rust Belt, this Democratic Rust Belt, that we can no longer
Please
rely
specify
on
left.
because we.
Do you mean the Democrats?
Party. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So liberals,
the only viable political party currently, other than the Republican Party in America.
Yeah, the center party. Anyways, carry on.
Fucking not. But
literally neocons. They're still neocons.
But by and large, we have lost the ability, and that's one of the reasons Trump won, because Hillary ignored this Rust Belt, thinking she had it in the bag. She didn't even visit these states once. She just thought they had it. But we have been hemorrhaging support among white working class voters because we have in a very real way condescended to them, pushed them away. We have stopped caring about their needs.
Maybe it's that they have an economic need that we aren't fucking addressing. Maybe that's why they're losing them.
I understand that.
If I don't care what party I identify as, if I go to an impoverished fucking town, right, and say, this is an impoverished place, that's no good. Why don't we get, why don't we create a jobs program?
I'm gonna recommend you some reading material.
Industry here. Like, let's get this fucking town working again, this town flowing again, right? Let's get systems working, right? If this is an industrial area, right, where it used to be a car city, right? Now no vehicles are produced here, right? And you say, all right, I will in fact, put industry here. And if private industry won't do it, I will bring in a nationalized government industry to do it. But we will get production back into this area. People will like that. They do. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Wait, let me...
People, if you understand what their needs are and help them, they like you.
Wait, I have let me just give you a good example. If you have the most leftist person that you can imagine, go to the most red state that you can imagine, and they ask any sort of like economic or job issue that they have. And this person who is completely leftist says that they're going to run on that one issue and get it done. If you can think of Michigan losing their jobs with like the trade jobs, or like something like that, rural areas getting their jobs back, something like that, where they say, hey, you know what? I'm on the far left. I know. I don't know. I guess
you don't even say that.
Yeah. Or you don't even say that. But you bring those jobs.
If I can interject, the problem here is, in a very real way, that the right has taken these economic issues and they made them their own. They're like, okay, yeah, we agree with some of these economic issues and we'll run with them. And they do it just enough. There's a few books that there's an author, I should say, that's written a few books that I would recommend to get better educated. And Revolt Rise asked for a source on this. This is going to be my source. I understand it's a novel. It's not a novel. It's a book. It's an actual book. Thomas Frank. He wrote things like Listen Liberal, What's the Matter with Kansas? And he explores and he goes through data to show how the left has hemorrhaged support in working class areas. These
vocabulary is important here, Wick.
Yeah, and well, the problem is here. I don't know why you say that like Republicans have have taken the economic ideas like to their own. Like they're like, what is their economic policy? Like less immigration. Like that
Exactly,
like,
to fix your economic woes.
Oh,
and then
okay.
it does
Look,
nothing.
that's another point you bring up, but that's a fair
Real quick,
point.
real-
The right
real quick.
doesn't need a policy.
Hey,
right
let
now.
him finish,
Real
Sunyata.
quick. Let me finish. So, like immigration, that's pretty much the only thing I've heard economically of what conservatives say. Like maybe what else? Less taxes, good for business owners. That's not the average American. The average American is not a business owner. So there's not really any economic policy that they've really harped up on. There's none other than immigration, which is shown. Like data shows this. There's only, I think, maybe like the percentage of people that get affected by wages of immigration. I think there's people that haven't finished high school, and I think that could be accommodated for with other people, like how do I say, like with other like welfare programs to like help these people in regards to like to match up well. But regardless, when you say like leftists, like it's liberals, and the problem is it's capitalism, and like it's unchallenged capitalism. That's the problem. Like they're like, I don't care if you're an extreme leftist, if you're like a socialist, an anarchist, a tanky, or whatever, like a social democrat. Like people have a problem with capitalism, and they just don't understand why. And if you get a good politician, a Democrat politician, that can explain like these effects that are like the alienation that capitalism brings, that's causing them to feel like horrible, like the lack of unity in their workplaces. These are things that like are leftist policies. They're not liberal policies or leftist policies. Okay, sorry.
No, don't apologize. I think you make a very good point that the right doesn't have some policies because they don't need some policies right now. It's sufficient to be, we're not those crazy people over there that are eating their own, that are yelling at each other. Like we looked at when Chuck Schumer, who's done an awful job, and I believe I've said this on panel before, who brought up the Build Back Better for a vote and the voting legislation for a vote when he knew he didn't have the votes. So the national discourse has been how Democrats can't get it together instead of other talking points. He's feeding it. It's a messaging on the Biden administration has been terrible. I don't think any of us would disagree on this, but we understand, and I hope we understand, that socialism isn't something that's a viable electorally currently, right now, today, in American politics. Do we disagree?
It's on an upswing.
Sure, okay, but it's still not today, for the midterms, viable, is it?
Seems to be.
Okay.
Are you telling me in a very serious way right now, like eye to eye, like look me in the eyes here, that if you run a socialist today, that they can be elected on a national
level? Stop being fucking idiots and learn how to fucking talk to the people they're trying to help. and they fucking, what you gotta do if you are a socialist, if you are a socialist running for anywhere, whether it's Democrat or Republican controlled, right? What you gotta do, you gotta walk up to your constituents, right? Sit down in a big old chair and say, what do you need? And then you fucking listen to what they need. And then you say, all right, sounds like you need those things. I'm gonna act on it. Let's do it. Let's get it done, right?
You guys are in for a long night of political irrelevance if you think that irrelevance? Yeah, irrelevance. Sorry. If you think that,
get ready to be irrelevant if you listen to your constituents.
Entirely irrelevant, and you're gonna because you are missing the point of why you are losing, why you continue. Like, yes, it's on an upswing, and incrementally, and it's working incrementally. That's a very important word. That's a very important style. Incrementally, it's working. That people are becoming
condescending piece of shit. I wouldn't vote for you.
But it's true. They're becoming more. You're right. That it's becoming more and more acceptable today. We're not there yet. We're not near there yet. And yeah, the future is all well and good, but we got to make it there. We got to it's not so much what's right. It's what's right now. It's what's important right now, and we need to concentrate on that, and we need to focus on that. Not losing sight of the future, but right now is what we need because people are suffering right now. And if you can only get them 70% of what they need, my God, that's much better than zero.
So real quick.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead. You didn't talk that much. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask Wick. I have a quick question for you because the reason I hesitated is, Do you think socialism is growing globally?
Globally, I cannot tell you. I just don't have the information on it right now in front of me.
Because there's a whole lot of like socialist policies in a way that are being not socialist, like there's a lot of like socialist ideas, at least for me, that I've seen, that are being adapted by authoritarian governments that are going around and doing stuff like that, where there's this concept of like, hey, do you need any sort of assistance with this and this? Okay, we can totally help you with that. Obviously, like I get what you're trying to say, and maybe, you know, we need to maybe just focus on America, you know, fuck the world or whatever. But
I can't
you know,
vote in France. I can't vote.
I know, no,
in
that's
Italy.
not what
I can only vote here.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. Because well, for one, we get a lot of people who move and come from other countries as well. So kind of knowing a little bit of what's going on and what ideas are coming into America, if you are an American, is probably a pretty good idea. It's probably a good idea to kind of maybe keep track of something like that over the years. But that, no, go ahead, Dr. K. I'm sorry.
No, and I'm
Sunyata,
doing.
I want to try Sunyata and then Dr. K.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sure. Just a question here. Can we clarify like the main point of contention here? Because like since I came in midway, first of all, like I don't really know. Like I kind of have a guess of what the main argument is, but like I don't really know anyone's side. So, I mean everyone's side. So if you guys can clarify for me those two things.
As I understand it, the question is between two strategies and how to win more seats electorally in America, whether by leaning into progressive and socialist policies, even in very deep red areas, or by appealing on a case-by-case basis and picking candidates that match the area's general view. So you would run
a socialist can match an area's general view.
You would run someone's very far left in at a district by Alexandra Ocasio would win it. You'd run someone like that there, but in like Kansas, you would run a more kind of conservative Democrat, a more liberal Democrat in places like that.
My apologies, but like I think the language that everyone's using is very vague. Like I think like I would like to. I don't know what the next topic is. I don't know if there's a next topic planned, but I'm probably not gonna talk until like maybe like the topic switches or something. So like we can talk about like specific policies in like specific areas. Because I'm kind of like the whole vague stuff is I don't know.
Also, James Thompson, progressive write-in wins in Kansas. Fascinating.
Okay, wins what? Wins like fucking dog comptroller? Like what are we talking about here?
No, judge.
A judge. Yeah,
that's nice. That's actually pretty strong.
That's nice.
So,
but one judge seat is not indicative that it's like this one datum is not indicative of a general trend that in general, just because you have
it worked once, let's try it again. So here's something I want to clarify from earlier, right? And this is why I say the Democrats are a center party, right? Is if you look at almost any Western democratic nation, right? You have three parties that generally emerge as your top three. You have a conservative, you have a liberal, and you have a Labor Party. And almost every like Western democracy, this is the case, right? We have a liberal and we have a conservative party. We do not have a Labor Party. The Labor Party traditionally fills the role of the left party. The Democratic Party does not act in the way Labor parties tend to. And so I label them as a center party. Now they are a big tent party, right? If you would be aligned with a hypothetical Labor or even further left in the United States, that is generally going to be the party you coalition with because it is a big tent party. That does not mean, though, that it is a left party. It is a functionally center party.
So we talked about this earlier about how the left and the right have
this is just a clarification.
I understand, but I want to drive this point home because it is important. Like, so when we talk about this, and we talk about the different language, like you label it a center party, but no one else does. Literally no one else uses that word to describe it. So words
Labor?
are something we use to communicate.
Wait.
ideas.
I need clarification.
I'm being as clear as I possibly can.
Yeah, I didn't like fully catch your first sentence though.
Oh, sure. So the left and the right use different language to describe, like they'll use the same word but mean entirely different things. So while you might label it, while you might label it center, no one else would.
Yeah, like, actually, every major political scientist in the world would label it.
Every major like the 30 people as opposed to the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of other people. Like,
dude, you're being disingenuous. Come on.
No, I am not.
Fuck off, man.
Wait, hold on. When you say that no one else will label it, so are you saying that center people who call themselves center left or center right or moderate don't exist?
If you ask the average American if the Democrat is a left party or a center party, they will answer you a left party. Do you disagree?
This is what I mean about
I disagree with that, actually.
This is what I mean about the vague stuff, right? Like, okay, first of all, like, I don't think it's a monolith. I think there's people in the Democratic Party that are, like, probably conservatives. Well, at least their actions, like, align with that of a conservative. There's the squad. They're progressive. I think I don't know what the problem is here though, because like I think when you're describing this type of stuff, you have to use very like specific language, because I think people get lost because when you say left, like what do you mean? Like, is it like do you mean like Bernie Sanders? That's
moderate left or far left or like?
That's a completely different.
I'm telling you what the average American means when you say left.
How do you know what an average American thinks?
Because we have polling, statistical studies,
and you've memorized all of these.
Wait. Okay, now I'm confused because like when you say the average American, that could literally be anyone.
The majority of the American citizens.
Okay, the majority of American citizens could still fall into like, are you talking about social issues, economic issues? Like,
I'm talking about when you ask, are the Democrats leftists? They will say yes. Do we?
Depends.
Are we disagreeing on this? Not that they're right, that they're correct in their label, but that's what they would label it as.
I'm disagreeing that they wouldn't label it as that. It would have to caveat on what issue they're talking about. I think an average American would ask, well, it depends on what we're talking about here. Are we talking about social issues, economic issues? That's what I would imagine that the average American would ask.
We're talking about the party.
I also want
to say, within the party.
I want to say that, like, let's even assume that you are correct and the majority of Americans think that way, right? If they're factually wrong about something, I don't want to then make that my standard of vocabulary, right?
Okay.
I want to deal with what is factually true.
Malleable.
And factually in behavior, the Democratic Party behaves as a center party.
Words are malleable. Once again, it's like insisting
but
in today's day and age that gay means happy and it can have no other meaning. That's silly. I mean, yes, originally that's what it meant. But words
that
fucking
absolutely
change.
does not that does not glue at all to what I'm saying, my friend.
I mean, if we want to communicate with people, we have to be able to speak their language. And when most Americans are saying that the left is the Democrats and the Democrats are the left, we have to use that in that understanding, even if it's incorrect. Even if it's factually wrong.
If I'm talking to a guy in a diner, right, and he says that, I'm gonna be like, yeah, but you gotta realize, mate, like, on a global perspective, the Democratic Party isn't a left party; they're a center party. And then I would literally explain what I explained to you already.
And they would.
Real quick. Let me interrupt before. Primes. I have a question for Primes. So. I don't know how this is usually structured, but I feel like this topic is like
bad.
I think we're going in circles. I don't know if there's another topic like we could introduce. Or...
You can talk about what you want. So.
Okay. Do you have anything like that comes
you
to
can talk
mind?
about what you want.
Yeah, anything you want, my dear.
Do you have a topic?
Yeah.
The world's your oyster.
I'm nervous. I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know. Like,
We can talk about
is
free
everyone?
speech.
No.
I wanted to talk about like Ukraine stuff, but I don't know.
You want to get into the bone zone? I'll get into the bone zone with you. That is an issue I'm very well read on, and I'm actually someone who like studies foreign policy. So I'd love to. I would love to discuss that with you if you want to be in pain.
It's a weak point for me, but I can
Hello,
manage.
Professor Meat. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, what's up, y'all? I hope the conversation's been completely all over the place and non-specific. No one.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. Hey, is that who said that? By the way, what's your name?
What, me? It's Mr. DRK right here.
No, not. I know who you are. What's the guy who said that everything's being vague and no one's being specific?
Senora. Senora,
thank you. That's the only like thing that anyone has actually said on this panel. Like everyone's been proposing like these vague ideas.
Hell yeah.
Vague definitions. I don't exactly know what anyone's meaning.
Yeah.
No, so I specifically wanted to talk to you about that because like all right, so because we're talking about I feel like, and let me know if I missed something and I'm suddenly changing the conversation. If it suddenly reached into something again, I wanted to be sure of that before I suddenly broke in. But oh, by the way, thanks for having me, Prime. It's super cool that I can just show up here. I wanted to say that. Yeah, this, like, I hate when people try to talk, there's so much wrong. So first off, the things that we're talking about are not, like, factually anything. Like, I don't know, like, so liberalism and conservatism, we need to understand that, well, hold on, don't say yeah, because you literally said, I follow the facts. These things aren't factually anything, but, all right?
Yeah, they're social sciences.
No, all right, hold on, I'll get to that. I'm getting to that, I promise. So, first off, oh, sorry, I bumped my mic. So, when we say, like, when we start to use definitions in a way that diminish their utility and our ability to communicate to others, that is when definitions become meaningless and useless. All right, that's the point that the guy with the beard that isn't Sanyata was trying to say. All right, but so the problem with what you're doing is when you just sorry, I don't know anyone's names, so my bad. So the problem with you. And honestly, I don't even think much people have a point, so I might not be here for long. I'm just trying to make this clear because I got so triggered. But
that's all right. Drop your bomb.
When you're using left in this way, this is the point he's making. Like everyone, you need to realize people that are on the left, in general.
Yes.
The left is a progressive party. The right is a conservative party. I mean, I'm speaking very loosely, obviously, but. When you're on the left, you're obviously, if you're thinking, okay, we need to push to the left, and this is the status quo, and the other party is fundamentally trying to conserve things, you're automatically going to have this predisposition of like, okay, this is where things should be, this is where the party that is representing the left is, and we need to push things further. And when you're allowing this skew, like this is innately to the party always going to be a skew that you have when you're comparing this like idealized world compared to what's actually going on in the real world. And so when you actually try to, like, I think you actually used language earlier, like, you know, we can't limit ourselves to what is in our imagination or something like that. It's like that sounds good, but I don't know what that, if we're trying to criticize what's happening and implicitly provide an alternative, I don't know what that actually means, because like I don't know. We can imagine that we can imagine whatever we can talk about here. So I don't think we need to invoke platitudes like that, right? And so generally speaking, what's this guy's point is in the end is that when you describe things in this way, all right. First off, when you describe things in this way, you're diminishing your ability to actually like. Maybe you're just here for like shits and giggles. I don't think you are.
Describe things in what way?
When you're describing things like the Democratic Party is not left, and in a way that like is not going to actually allow you to communicate to people, Okay, yeah, I'm getting to that.
There are internal factions that are.
Okay, let's
the party
skip to
as
that.
a whole
Let's
is not.
skip to that. Yeah, let's skip to that. Okay, this idea that the Democratic Party is factually not left is made up. Some people might think that because there's all sorts of radical people in political science because it's political science.
So there.
Hold on. I'm almost done. I'm gonna let you talk in just a second. I'm gonna let you talk in just a second. Don't interrupt me, bud. You were just flaming everyone on this chat about interrupting. Come on, don't be a hypocrite.
Yes,
okay?
I get you're upset. So, carry on.
Yeah, I am upset. I'm spicy. If you see me again, you're gonna learn.
Dr. K, knock it off. Let him finish. For fuck's sakes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. So, can you? I'm sorry, I lost my point a little bit. I might smoke a little bit too much weed. I get lost easily when I get interrupted over and over again.
You was explaining about how it is left or something.
Yeah. So
the factions.
When you say that it's factually left, okay. So I'm gonna ask a hypothetical question to answer it for you because the answer is I already know your answer. Unless you want to disagree with me, I would hope that you wouldn't. But obviously, there's tons, a huge spectrum of conclusions that people come to in political science. All right, there are people on the right and the left, which are oppositely, by definition, completely opposed opinions that they come to in political science. So when you start saying that anything is like factually on the right or the left, that doesn't mean that just doesn't mean anything. That now practically speaking, you can say that something is on the right or the left because the only practical definition for something being on the right or left is a general practical definition that people use for whether or not something exists on the right side or the left side of politics. That's why what is right and what is left changes. That's why it's relevant for me to bring up the fact that progressives are always going to think about progressive policies as the Democratic Party that is currently enacting policies as being more centrist to what actually is left, because the whole idea of left is that the progressivism is constantly going to be moving up, and what is progressive is constantly changing, and what was once progressive is going to become conservative. So when you start redefining things as factual, that's just not an actual useful definition for anyone, because what is left is going to change. The only thing that's actually left or right is what is on the left or the right of the center. So when you say that the Democratic Party is centrist, it doesn't make any sense except in this imagination that you're talking about.
I mean, okay, just to kind of push back a little bit on that, I don't think Wick's question was about utility in the conversation that we're having. His question was
what he said. That's literally explicitly what he said.
The question
he's
that
agreeing with me, so I think that you can probably ask him. He's agreeing with me.
Okay, then let me clarify, because from what I remember, the question that you asked was, what would the average person call the Democratic Party? Am I wrong on that?
No,
wasn't that your question?
The larger point that when you say, as Professor Meat here has explained, that when you say to people that the Democratic Party is center, they disconnect. They think, wow, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, because it's not.
Okay, but again, the answer of just calling it the left in itself would be a general term, wouldn't it? Because that's what he just said.
Yes.
So basically, at least for me, the reason why I pushed back on that was to say that the left is not general. It does have many factions. So an average person being asked that question wouldn't give a general answer. I'm saying that normally they would ask more questions to figure out which faction is being talked about. That's all I was saying. But I don't know if that's what Dr. King was saying.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that the average person who has who even thinks about politics, right? So let's exclude the people who you said, are you on the right or the left? And they would just be like, I have no idea what, I don't know. I have no idea about anything, right? Let's exclude those people for obvious utility reasons. If you're talking, if you were, do you think that if you were to go and you were to start talking to average people, just, average people who think about politics at all, we don't have to take the most devout, don't have to bias it, just people who think about these things at all, who could maybe give an answer with some reason. If we take those people, do you really think that if you interviewed them on average that they would feel that they had to question you about those things and define those terms before they would be able to give you an answer, roughly speaking? That they're directionally on the right or the left?
I think when you ask that question, at least for me, it causes an average person to think about that question. And when they think about it, there's a little bit of nuance, at least in 2022. Maybe
So-
in
Yo,
2010
nuance
they
is out
probably
of
would have been.
favor.
So I think where the nuance comes in is
In
I think
2010
what-
they probably wouldn't have, but I think now
So-
people
yeah.
kind of think about it.
So you're welcome. So I think we might not be in disagreement here. So let me say something. You're welcome to disagree with me. So
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like I might be wrong. I feel like you're getting at something that I agree with, but you're saying in a way that I disagree with. So
Okay.
because I feel like yes, there is nuance in there in the sense that like where the nuance comes in, and maybe you disagree with me, but I think the nuance comes in is the fact that there's a lot of nuance on where people fall on the left or the right. There is a lot of nuance. There's a lot of variation in how people express themselves and the type of views that are expressed and types of factions that exist within both
Yeah.
sides of the political spectrum, right? And people are aware of these and they can express themselves in these things. But even across all of those spectrums, I think that by and large, we could say that those people would agree that they would characterize themselves even if they asked all those nuance. And to be clear, I think that most people would be happy to give nuance, but could easily and comfortably answer that question without giving specifics. I think they might say, well, they might qualify it a bit with I'm only a bit left or far left or bit right or far right, but they're going to be able to easily say like left or right, right? And that's my point. They're all thinking about left or right. But and that's just, I'm not saying left or right only means one thing, because that's just as problematic as this conception. But when you but it's the idea that there's just a lot wrong, honestly, with for all the reasons. There's like three main things wrong. Okay, so it's wrong to think about it this way, because thinking about politics as like something factually that's springing from some objective reality is just like not. It's political science is not particle physics. You can't treat it that way, and it's kind of disingenuous to bash everyone over the head with facts when you're actually holding something metaphorically too flimsy to actually apply any force with. So, and you know what? I'm rambling a little bit at this point. I made my point. I'm good.
Yeah, it's a Big Ten
Welcome
party.
to my world. So
Also, I mean, for Wick, the issue I kind of had too is you made it seem that once you do ask someone if they think the Democratic Party, like the average person would say that the Democratic Party is the left. That answer, the fact that you said that it's just the left, the issue I mainly had is that then you're not considering the nuance. It's like this is this group of people.
I understand.
Like I kind of felt that. It kind of felt like that because you were reinforcing it
but
in
the
that
general
sort of way.
populace, I would disagree with a professor here that I don't think the general populace considers nuance. I just don't. I don't think they consider nuance.
What, you think
Oh, no,
Americans
no.
are stupid or something? Come on.
Oh, I think he was
Generally,
talking to
they
me when he
don't
said the
consider
professor.
nuance. Like I
think he was talking to me when he said the professor. I know you're used to being. I know you really like to try and paint yourself as very. academic
Professor.
and
Okay,
I'm
let's
sorry,
try and be
don't
civil. There's no need.
And
there's
I
no
do
need
I do want to be
He was
clear
just
that,
commenting on it.
yeah, I do want to be
Oh,
clear that just
I take it
because
back,
I
I'm sorry.
disagree with you lovely people, I still think you're lovely people. I think you're wrong, but lovely. And
Dude, you're so
the-
condescending.
You see,
I'm
that's
not
what I'm
trying to be
talking about. You're
confident.
such a
No,
little prick.
okay, but
Why
but,
is
okay.
hold on, why are you attacking Wick? What did he do?
Yeah.
Really, what did he do?
I just
I'm not attacking him. I'm attacking Dr.
No, I got that. No, I'm talking to Dr.
Okay,
K.
okay.
What the fuck did he do?
Yeah, sorry.
He literally
He's just his cadence is consistently one of a doting mother that knows better.
It's just my
And yours
my
isn't.
talk.
that's
It's
literally
just my
how
voice.
he talks. He talks like that all the time. Why are you
No,
attacking him?
it isn't. It isn't. That's how Dr. K talks. Let's all be clear about that.
Wow,
That's
I
not
got
how
a
he talks.
hater in VC today.
You
Damn.
do. I came on to Twitch to find people I hate and make them hate me so that they can argue with me and I can argue with them. That's what I'm here for, bud. Let's fucking go.
I'm trying to
stupid. I'm here for you to say stupid things so that I can tell you.
I'm
why
trying
they're
to build
stupid,
bridges.
right?
I'm trying to say I don't demonize any of you. I think I like you all.
Yeah, like I'm here to vibe.
But
I'm
what
not here to vibe.
what
I'm here to
trying-
vibe. You can vibe with you. You can
Okay,
vibe with me.
so-
I'm
so
not
what
gonna-
I'm-
I'm not. There's a wall. All right. There's not
What
gonna
I'm
be one or
trying
the
to
other.
say, what I'm trying to say at the very end of the day, the whole point of this argument, this whole point that I'm trying to make, is that we have to compromise on certain things to get some things, and we are letting much too much that this perfect idealized world and vision become an enemy to a less ideal but still better reality. that we
But comment
could
on what?
work with conservative actors on, and we could take it issue by issue if we need to, that we could work with them, but instead, because they will not work with us on every issue, we will not work with them on any issue, and it's a
This is
problem.
what we. This is
This,
what we
this,
should
this
talk
is what I'm
about.
talking about. This is what I'm talking about, right? Like, so we said, like, you never really pointed to specific things or policies or like, what are the concessions that Democrats
Ending the war on drugs. I'll give you a very specific. Ending the war on drugs. That's a right issue. That's a left issue. That's an issue that almost everyone in the spectrum can agree with, that we can work with each other and do.
Maybe in the vagaries, but I think when it comes to the minutia,
Oh yeah, there's going to be in the weeds. We're going to get disagreements, but he asked for a specific policy, and that's a specific policy that we could work with the conservative factions and agree on.
And you think you would need a concession for that? In my eyes, I feel like most Americans, and I think the data supports that most Americans do support like smoking, legalizing weed. Like sure. You know what I mean? I don't think that like, I don't know what you mean by concessions. Like like I said,
I'll give you one. Settling for decriminalization rather than legalization. That's a concession we might have to make. There's a difference.
I mean, also, like, I just want to say this too. Like, I'm gonna push back on the fact that, you know, some people have said that there was no initial talk. We started this conversation based off of a video that we watched with a lady who was being who was calling out the fact that her kids had seen transgender kids.
Does anyone want to come in defense of that though? Like, we all agree.
I don't know. Maybe we should work with these Republicans.
No, but the idea that came off of that is like, okay, so for a person like this, what would you do? That's initially like what we initially started talking about. I went into other, like, how we would behave in other policies, but essentially that's how this started. So that's I'm just pushing back from the fact that like nothing has been said. No, like that's.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What do? Run a candidate that can beat that person. And if you try to run, like, as bad as that is and as cringe as that is, unfortunately, in certain parts of this country, that is preferable to the dirty communists. They would rather have what they recognize as bigotry in that, because socialism has such a bad rap in certain parts of this country that they would rather have that than a socialist. So you pick someone who can win against that, because we don't want that. We want to oppose that. We want to fight against that. And so
the reason they elected her hypothetically is that she
beat that. Do we disagree?
The reason they elected this person hypothetically is they said, hey, I'd get manufacturing back in this region. And the Democrat was like, well, you know, globalization, you know, we'll try and get something, but, you know, it may or not happen, right? And so what you do when someone says, hey, you know, we'll get this thing back, and then they, you know, use that as a platform to sort of shove all their crazy shit in, is you say, I'm going to get all that stuff back for you, but without the fucking banana sandwich shit where it's like, yeah, I want to, you know, fucking set trans people on fire and things like that, right? Like, it's not that. Like, socialists can win.
I mean, like, how do I say? Like, I don't know. That's why I don't understand, like, what concession they would have to make, right? Like, if you were in an area, right, and it's a red area, and you're a Democrat running, you don't have to vocally, like, be, like, totally in support. Like, you don't have to vocally express your support for trans people. What you have to do is make sure that the systems that you put in place, like, lead to those outcomes. You pass, how do I say, you pass legislation that helps people. Like, you don't have to outright say it as, like, a virtue signal, because, like, there's plenty of people that, like, virtue signal shit. You know what I mean? Like, you could say, like, oh yeah, like, I'm in support of this, and then, you know, you don't force yourself.
But it is important to inform the voting public of what you would do if you are elected. Yes.
Sure.
I mean, like, it sucks when and people get very mad when you promise something and you don't deliver. That tends to get people, like, I remember famously in the 92 election, George Bush Sr. was like, read my lips, no new taxes. And that's the first and only time my father had ever voted a Democrat. He voted for Clinton because what did George Bush Sr. do? He got elected and then he raised taxes. And my father punished him for it, even though he was a dyed-in-the-wool Republican.
Exactly.
And
We should be raising taxes on the wealthy, something the majority of Americans support and a lot of Democrats wouldn't do.
I'm just giving you an example where that didn't work out for the person who did that. And what let me try to answer. Maybe I'm not communicating clearly. It's very possible. It's late. When I talk about what concessions would have to be made, what would a liberal look like compared to a progressive? For example, on the Green New Deal, they might oppose that, but they might also support things like the election reform that was recently proposed. They may support that. They may support abortion rights. They may support social welfare systems and things like that. But they may oppose certain things like excessive gun control, new Green Deal legislation. And so we're going to have to take that as, okay, well, it's better than nothing, but it's not perfect. Does that answer your question?
Hey, conservatives, if you vote socialist, they let you keep your guns, actually. Anyways.
Okay, can we switch
That's right.
to a new topic? Anyone got like any spicy stuff they want to talk about? Anything
I mean,
new?
you gotta. You've said that a few
Yeah.
times, dude. You gotta kind of put it out there. You gotta bring the spice. You know, you gotta. Don't be
I'm
like, hey,
like
I'm done
honey
with this
to
topic.
flies. I got a lot of haters in here tonight.
I'm not a creative person, all right? I play Minecraft with other mods too, so I don't know. So someone put something forward. My imagination.
Okay,
Is not
I don't know.
Hey,
I'm
we're
sorry.
talking about this.
I don't know
so
why you
whatever.
like keep complaining about like the topic. You hear
Yeah.
like, the first thing you're doing is
You can either,
complaining.
yeah, you can engage.
Yeah, like I don't
Everyone's
understand.
just like it's because the entire panel feels like it's a whole bunch of people doing their very best, trying so hard not to agree with each other. It
Feels a bit circular.
Yeah,
No,
like,
so
want
I feel like
I'm
I
sorry.
feel like it's
No,
Wick
hold
trying
on,
to
shut up for a
explain
second.
himself.
Like yeah, like don't come on here and just like immediately start complaining. Like literally the first thing. Hey, you got another topic? Hey, like I know nothing. I've never been here. But like, hey, do you have a new topic? I don't like this one. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
why is that the first thing you do?
When you don't have a
Fair-
topic either, right? I mean, come on.
I mean, that's true. Fair enough. The conversation really was going in circles, and like there wasn't really like any defined. How do I say? Like there wasn't like
Okay,
it didn't really
thanks.
An
Thank you.
axiom.
Okay, well,
So
we can talk about.
we can all agree that this conversation is not really specifically about anything, but that this also isn't the place to say that.
Sure, but we
We
can
all
we.
agree?
I'll talk it like if you want spicy. Like I got some topics for you. We could talk.
Wait,
I'm
what-
against
then
canceling
what
Joe
did you-
Rogan. Like.
What
So
did
we can
you
talk about that.
specifically want to?
Great.
What did you?
Before we move on, let me just I guess do my best to point out at least what I thought the topic was and how like I addressed it. So initially when we were talking about this and addressing this lady who was the transgender shit that whatever she said, like
But
for
what
me
did
when
she
I
say?
well, she basically said that her kids were being punished for laughing at a transgender person. And she paused for a while and everyone kind of like figured, and then she said another statement. I can't quote it verbatim, but basically that other statement was, I don't know why they can't even bully this person, basically. So it's a clip, you'd have to see it in the VOD, something like that. But anyway, the whole point that I was trying to point out is that when I came on and I was talking about this is like when we look at the discourse of people on the right and we look at the discourse of the people on the left, how we engage with these people is
this video in the VC chat or in okay.
I don't know what the fuck it is. I'm sorry. Like
If
prime
you just
prime
Google
That's
GOP candidate, it's uncomfortable with transgenders. You'll be able to find it.
Yeah.
Texas GOP.
So basically, like for me, like my main thing was that how we engage with people on the right and how we engage with people on the left as far as moving policies and moving ideas and getting them along. It matters. So like if you come into that with a mindset where you're it's kind of like, let's look to how we've done it in history. Okay, they're not going to agree with this and this and this, so I'm going to hope and get whatever I can get. And hopefully hopefully I get one little concession and I count that as a victory. The incrementalism idea, or on the other end, you come in with still standing on your policies and ideas that you stand for as being possibly leftist or maybe far left, but you offer them something that they want. You offer them something as an alternative, and when they engage this social issue, you say, hey, listen, this is something that you believe but in order for you to get into that seat, in order for you to get things moving, it's important to engage them outside of policy as opposed to trying to move things within policy. And if it's within policy, you're trying to give them what they want. So you're trying to give them, so let's say, like, in this case of this lady, it's like you're offering, yeah, she's gonna feel how she feels about kids in schools, her kids being mistreated or something like that. But hey, the education system, like, is there anything else that you like, you talk to them? Is there anything else that they would want? That you kind of try and find something along those lines that you can align with, because you're not gonna align with this one thing. So that's basically what I came in talking about. But obviously, I didn't make that clear, and I was just talking bullshit. But whatever. Anyway, we can move on as you guys wanted, right? Because we weren't talking about it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're at the end of the night any which way. Thanks all for being here. Much appreciated. Thank you to my audience for coming through. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have all black everything, which I'm looking forward to, as always. I think it's my funnest my panel. But anyway, hit that follow button if you haven't done so yet. Exclamation point social. In chat to follow us on social media, our Twitter, our Discord, not Facebook. It's the YouTube. That's where it is. Oh man, I don't know. Why do I keep saying Facebook lately? I have no fucking clue.